About to get booed real bad here.
It's not as good as I hoped. Not as good as I hoped. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in.
You know, I feel bad about that sometimes, but I shouldn't. Have you listened to Jim Rome? I mean, that guy's like all over him. His producer just playing stuff all over him. And it's not timed well. It's bad.
He's taking down our own guy.
No. I mean, it makes me feel better when I step on the host accidentally, knowing that, well, they do it nationally. So I have a defense in case, I'm not worried about you. I mean, if you get mad,
it just is what it is, right?
It's a Wednesday.
Who cares if I get mad?
It's Wednesday. You got mad on Tuesday. Get mad on Monday. I do that to people.
What's it matter if Rob gets mad? Who cares?
Well,
just he'll deal with it.
It's very entertaining, and then I feel bad about it the rest of the day. So,
oh yeah, I'm sure.
No, actually, I do, and I thought about this morning that I was not going to do anything argumentative or to cause division or derision,
like how to play the game,
or erosion, or some
erosion.
Yes, of the product. And I started off just doing it right away.
There it is. It is.
So I mean, I can turn the cart wall off, turn my microphone off, and try to be quiet. You notice that 3-letter word "try." I can do that. Otherwise, we're going to have a great show. Hey, I don't know if you knew this, Rob, but my favorite NFL team's in the Super Bowl. I don't know if I'm starting to get a little excited. Just a little bit.
I had noticed that. As a matter of fact, I was actually aware.
Think if I was that guy.
That.
You know that guy? My team. Whoa. Yeah, your team sucks. My team's awesome. My team's a Super Bowl. Yours not, because yours is a loser. Ha ha. I'm not that guy. So if I was, this would be a great week. And it's Wednesday. And this is the first time I've said anything like this.
It is Super Bowl Wednesday, as a matter of fact. You guys, y'all, my dudes and dudettes, it's just around the corner. It is almost time for us to celebrate football's crowning moment of the season, and then at its conclusion, wave farewell for the better part of 260 days.
This would be a good time for you to play that. No cut.
No! I forgot I had that one, man. I got to reorganize again.
I did, because that would work perfectly right
I
there.
added this
You're
one.
just a loser or a jackass. You can be A or B.
That's one of my favorites now. We added.
They like to drink their haterade and eat their hater tots.
Good one.
This is completely BS. This is shame.
Good one.
You're such an a-hole.
Good one.
Why is all your stuff so negative?
It's not.
I mean,
It's not all.
I got uplifting stuff like
America.
I mean, what's more uplifting than that?
Hello, lady.
All right, there we go.
There you go.
We're progressing towards positive now.
We got a day lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen. Plenty to talk about on the radio broadcast today, including the aforementioned, what everybody else is going to call the big game, TM. Not us. It's just the Super Bowl around these parts.
Yeah, this Super Bowl.
Because you're going to be able to hear that right here and only on the Fan Upstate. And we are going to be spending quite a bit of time over the next 12 hours of sports talk excellence, at least our 12 hours of sports talk excellence, talking about that. And we will, coming up very shortly. What else are we going to talk about today, Rob? I'm ever so glad you asked. Yesterday, the Gamecocks of South Carolina played their first game of the season as an AP-ranked team, and dramatic Gamecock.
Mine was more positive. Yours was negative.
Dramatic. Well, because I'm trying to build the anticipation here.
Still, I mean, our synergy, which is my favorite word this week. It's 1 point, as the kids used to say back in the 2000s.
There's some people out there that went to bed early. They didn't stay up and watch these games. They didn't stay up and enjoy the action.
I don't know about the Clemson game, but I don't know if there was joy in the Gamecock game.
How was there not? They won a top 15 ranked home game.
They let them back in the game.
Because Ole Miss is good.
Are they? Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right.
They were a team that up until yesterday when the Gamecocks took their spot were also a top
All
25
right.
team. That's a tournament team.
Admittedly,
Ole Miss.
I recorded the game. I knew the score, which I usually don't do, but I knew the score. I watched the last 15 minutes of the game, which should be the last quarter, but since college basketball is, we're going to be different. Women's basketball has quarters. The NBA has quarters. The men have halves. And
why does that bother you?
because conform.
You, the king of contrarians,
yeah.
I assume would have loved that.
I just, I saw the score when I started watching this morning as I was eating my hater tots, and I see, okay, they're only going to score 8 points in the next 10 minutes. Awesome.
I have had enough of you.
They tried their best to give that game away.
No, they didn't.
They had
Ole Miss-
moments. They had moments of intensity and other moments of, oh, oops, I turned the ball over. Oops, I turned the ball over. There was an excellent block near the end of the game.
You mean
When there's like that 7-footer and you see like a 6'4" guy block the 7-footer, that was amazing. That was like the only defense in the last 10 minutes, but it was pretty cool.
Guys, I want you to know I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best with the great one. I really am. I'm trying to get him there to understand the greatness of college basketball, but he's just not there yet.
Back in my day,
you used to be able to tackle a guy and no blood, no foul.
well, that wasn't what I was going to say. They actually scored the basketball back in my day.
It's because there was no defense back in your day.
Right.
South Carolina.
This ain't even your day anymore.
What do you mean this is my day?
I mean,
Every day's my day.
when would you say your prime, when you could say this is my time as a sports fan?
I think you get like 4 to 6 years out of college.
Okay.
Or like around that age, I'm going to say like 22
That's a
to
small
26
window.
is, yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I did yesterday see a study that said that women in America in 2024 have shifted the age where they describe men as in their prime to their mid-40s now. Saw that yesterday. Women now say that they see men as men being in their prime in their mid-40s. Used to be in the mid to late 30s,
Yeah.
and it has shifted back now to they see men in their mid-40s in their prime.
So basically,
and as a man
you're
who's not even 40, let me just say,
So this is like a really huge deal.
right, because you're basically a teenager in women's
Yeah.
eyes, and you're going to hit maturity here in
I'm
a
not
few
even in my
years.
prime yet, you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, I'm still past mine. If it's 30s or 40s, I'm still past mine.
South Carolina gets that win last night at home over Ole Miss, but they were not alone because the Clemson Tigers, who, by the way, if you were keeping track, don't you do it. Don't you do it. They deserve better than this today.
They do. It was an amazing win, but you said the word. I guess. I mean,
How the hell am I supposed to talk about it without saying the name of the freaking school, man?
Oh, I've managed to get you to not do it. You just say Clemson.
Los Tigres go on the road. That is not.
I speak Spanish.
My God.
You need to find a word in like German or something.
Das Kitties. I don't know if that's right. I think that's right. I don't think that's the right word.
It didn't sound right, but that's fine.
Clemson goes up to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, a place that they were, ladies and gentlemen. 1-62 in their last 63 games in Chapel Hill. 1-6. Do you understand how not good that is?
Yeah, I played on
1-62.
I played on a football team in high school where we won a total of like 3
You
games.
didn't go 1-62.
No, well, we could have. We averaged 1 game a season. So yeah, that's
If you average 1 game a season, do you understand how dramatically different that is than 1-62 insane. You know, 1 in 62.
I only played-
That is one game a decade,
I was gonna say
man.
I only played three years, so that would be like one more than Clemson.
That is winning one game a decade. One game a decade.
Were the referees different? Because my understanding is when they go to Chapel Hill that the referees kind
No,
of
that's
are.
Duke.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
thought
like Carolina usually gets a little bit of help there, but in fact, there were a couple of spots where even I think Reese was on play-by-play last night, where even Reese was like, they got that one wrong. They got that one wrong. That was not a right call. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Late in that game, there was every single opportunity for Clemson to give the game away, and they didn't. PJ Hall, Shefflin, these dudes are bulldogs, bro.
yeah, I don't have to watch that game because there's someone else on the station who will give you every last little detail. #all in, and you just know everything that happened in it.
Watch that game.
It's a fan perspective of it, but still, it's
Watch
still,
that game.
Eh.
Watch that game. That game was good. That game, and again, that game, as Clemson goes, they had every single opportunity late in that game to do Clemson things. They had every opportunity late in that game to Clemson it up, to, as the kids say, to Clemson the game. And they didn't. They did not. At one point, North Carolina went on a run, knocked down a couple of threes, ended up tying the game at 70 apiece with just a tick over 4 minutes to play. And what does Clemson do? Not panic. Get the ball inside. High percentage shots. Offensive rebounds. Put it back off the glass. Box out. Something that apparently they don't teach in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Play good D, hands up, no hand check, no free fouls. Make them throw up prayers. Carolina throw up prayers, and Clemson walks out of there 80-76.
By the way, I'm not a betting guy. I'm not really good at it. If you've listened to the show for any length of time, but if I were a betting man, I'd be putting money on Clemson to lose the next game.
Clemson at Syracuse on Saturday,
Because that's the Brownell way, right? You do just enough to keep your job, get a couple amazing wins, and then losing the NIT.
I mean, you'd say so, but here's the thing.
I mean, for the couple Clemson fans that I know that are cool dudes, there's a couple who are following basketball now because they're winning. Good for them.
Brad Brownell had won in his entire career at Clemson, one away game at North Carolina, and it was during the COVID season, right? Now, granted, we weren't in COVID when that happened. I'm just pointing out how long ago it was. 2020 was the one. Now, in fairness, pretty much all the other Clemson coaches before him got smoked at UNC. 1-62. That is like winning one game out of 2.5 full basketball seasons at the collegiate level. And that's against one opponent on the road. It's a ridiculous number. But they went up there and in a spot, and I'll say this. I don't know if you give, I think it's a matter of perspective. Because late in that game, I'm watching the boys try to get fired up. Like I'm watching the boys trying to fight back against the baby blue. And they go over to Brad, and Brad just has like no fire late in the game. And I understand different strokes for different folks. There are some that, you're going to have a coach that is absolutely going to get completely wildly animated and is going to be kicking chairs and running around and going bananas. And then you're going to have other coaches that, like Mike, well, no, I'm going to say Mike Krzyzewski. Krzyzewski used to turn beet red, yelling late in games. But you're going to have other guys who their MO in, let's say sphincter clinching games like last night, give you that kind of like arms crossed, brow furrowed. No. And Brad was just kind of like, I'm here. But
maybe he felt like, yeah, we got this.
No, I don't think he did.
It's
I don't
not.
think he did. I did, because when it got 70-70 after a 16-point lead evaporated for Clemson, I think it was more Brad looking around going, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. 1-62, about to be 1-63.
I have a question because I don't know. I could look it up, but you're a knower of ball. How many times in college basketball do you play someone in your division? So how many times do they play North Carolina?
You play the majority of your conference opponents twice.
Okay, so twice. So that means in order to even this record, it will take them 30 years. Not trying to be a dark cloud. I mean, good on you. You can't approach that without winning that next one, and they just did. But that would be
not trying to be a jerk, but
you
just have to go undefeated for the next 3 decades to tie the record.
Good shot in my lifetime. It doesn't happen. I'm just saying.
They do have UNC. They lost to UNC, and we talked about this with John Blau back on Monday. They lost to Carolina at home about 2.5 weeks ago by a point, 65-55. And that was kind of about the point that people started asking, like, all right, are they gonna brown out? Because they lost to Miami before that. They had a loss on the road at Memphis before that. It was only the 3rd loss, but then they turned around and they lost to Va Tech. They lost to Georgia Tech, which, by the way, is not the most shameful loss. Georgia Tech beat North Carolina, but last night, Georgia Tech was at home against Wake Forest. Now, I want to talk South Carolina and Clemson basketball. Obviously, you guys are the focus. But I feel compelled to talk to you a little bit about the game with Wake Forest last night for the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck. They were at home last night. Lonzo, this team last night to start the game, and I will tell you, this is about where I checked out because Clemson was playing, because South Carolina was playing. I had to kind of dial in on those games. Here's how Georgia Tech started the game last night. After 15 minutes of play, the score was 33-5. That's after 15 minutes. Here's the stats for the Ramblin' Wreck, and I emphasize wreck in this one. They were 1 of 23 from field goal. Not 3. 1 of 23 shooting, period. They were 1 of 12 from behind the arc. They had 9 rebounds to Wake's 22. They had 1 assist to Wake's 9, 1 steal to Wake's 4, 0 blocks to Wake's 4, 5 turnovers, 0 fast break points, 0 points in the paint, and 7 fouls. They had, after 15 full minutes of ACC college basketball action, they had more personal fouls than points.
Let me translate that for a normal college basketball apologist.
It sucks.
No. What an amazing defensive performance. See, this is why college basketball is better, because of the defense that's played in college basketball. They shut them. They held them to 5 points. Do you understand how hard that is to take a college basketball team and hold them to 5 points? Wow, what kind of defense that was. That whole team needs to be on the all defensive team.
Our buddy Joey B was at that game, and he texted me a picture of the in-arena scoreboard. And Joey B, whenever he goes to Atlanta, he goes to Georgia Tech games. He's got a job over there a couple of nights a week. He's in the ATL. And if Georgia Tech's at home, he just goes to see him play whoever. And he texts me and he's like, dude, I am watching, and I mean this, the single worst game of college basketball I've ever seen in my life. And Joey B went to like a tiny little Christian college, right? Like, he is at an ACC Power 5 conference game. It's like I'm watching the worst basketball game at the college level I've ever seen. And sends me a picture of the scoreboard. I'm like, get out of here. No way. And I tune it on. It was genuinely the worst thing I've ever seen. Here's how bad it was. I finished Clemson and South Carolina with those games on the little screens so that I could tune in and enjoy Georgia Tech looking like Trey. They're lucky they got to double digits in the first half. Double digits, not 50, double digits.
So this is the rubbernecking car crash thing. You can't look away. It's so bad you got to keep watching.
Like, you know, when
But
you're
are you
around,
rooting for it to get worse or better?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Now, keep in mind, this Georgia Tech team, they beat North Carolina a week and a half ago. They beat Clemson.
Okay, so you're not helping Clemson by talking about
They
how
beat
that
North
team,
Carolina,
Right,
dude.
right.
That's a top 3 team.
It was.
And they beat them.
It was.
They beat North Carolina. They beat Clemson. They beat Hawaii. They beat Penn State. They beat Duke, bro. Like, this Georgia Tech team beat Duke and North Carolina in the same season. And then last night, barely scored 10 points in the first half.
You know, sometimes you have an off night, and it's through osmosis or it's bacteria. I don't know what it is. When a couple people are having a bad night, everybody seems to have a bad night.
There are bad nights where you go out and maybe have a little too much to drink, and you take the Uber home, and you get home and you feel like crap, and you fall asleep on the bathroom floor because the tile's cold and it feels good. And then there's bad nights like you pound too much Jägermeister, you throw up all over yourself, you sleep in the front yard, you wake up covered in fire ant bites, and that's what Georgia Tech was last night. I've had some bad nights. Georgia Tech last night, like, messed their own pants, had a bad night. Like, everybody does that once in their adult life. You're like, oh my, did I just do that in public? That's an accident. That's a mistake. Georgia Tech did it very publicly in an ACC basketball game. It's pretty impressive. All right, let's do this. Let's run to a break. When we come back, let us talk about those 2 games last night. Enormous games last night for South Carolina and Clemson, and both of them walk away with dubs. What a night for Shooty Hoops in the Palmetto State. And we'll break those games down when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I thought you said that. I don't know why. Zach, good morning, big dog. Welcome in. Everybody else lurking in the shadows. Howdy, y'all. Howdy, y'all.
Quit making them sound creepy. Sometimes you don't have anything to
I know
add.
Spanish.
Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? Thank you. Thank you.
You need to call QC Kinetics today. Hey, it's Charlie James. The state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids and surgery are
Well, I don't know about keeping them calm. I'm probably doing the opposite, but yeah.
is transforming lives with innovative non-surgical drug-free treatments
See ya.
that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury. Don't let this pain keep you from living the best life. QC Kinetics advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damage.
I don't like compliments.
Revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence. Walk.
All right, I do like compliments. Everyone likes compliments. I just don't know how to process it.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. Greenville and Asheville.
Hey, it's Rob Brown. Wanted to take just a moment to tell you about the penny sale happening right now at Smith & James Fine Men's Clothing. On select men's fall and winter wear, you buy one great piece at a great price. You get a second piece of equal or lesser value for just a penny. And on top of that, their spring lines are starting to come out, so you can get a jump on an affordable, high-quality, long-lasting spring look only from our friends at Smith & James Fine Men's Clothing. Visit their shop at smithandjames.com smithandjames.com or in Greenville or Greer since 1916. It is Smith & James Fine Men's Clothing.
The 2024 SEC Women's Basketball Tournament tips off in Greenville, South Carolina, March 6th through 10th. Catch all the action as we crown a champion. For info and to purchase your tickets, visit SECsports.com. SEC Women's Basketball, it just means more.
At Granger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Sorry for the quiet. It's called pacing.
We got 4 hours to go, guys.
Got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Need automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional.
I'm very bummed because I'm going home next weekend, and I have to miss the Swamp Rabbits Star Wars night.
Oh, no.
You understand how much fun I would have emceeing Star Wars night?
I do.
And I'm going to miss it. Huge bummer.
Are you going to be on stage?
Yeah, we're playing.
No, I'm not.
A big gig. Like a big gig. Like we do an annual charity benefit for the American Cancer Society. And the production crew we use to put this show on is the same production crew that runs the big concerts at the Pensacola Civic Center, the Well in Pensacola.
Right.
And they bring the same concert setup they use for that.
So you get all the lighting and all that kind of stuff. It is so much fun.
And we give them the set list,
Mhm.
and they put somebody up there who choreographs the lights to the show. It is badass. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob and the Great One Lonzo with you here on a Wednesday morning. Shall we talk a little college basketball? Yes. 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 We absolutely shall. Couple of big games last night for both South Carolina and Clemson. Let's get to them, my dudes and dudettes. And let's start with the ranked team, shall we? Let's start with the Gamecocks. I said yesterday on the radio broadcast, hey, if you go into this game ranked, we're going to learn something about this team. Because, whether you agree with me or not, if a team sees that they have the opportunity, when you are a ranked team, to knock you off of that, and let's be clear, an L for the Gamecocks last night would have absolutely moved them from 15 right back to the 26, 27, 28 range. You're probably going to get a little something extra out of them. And you did last night out of Ole Miss. 4 out of 5 of their starters reached double figures, including 26 from Alan Flanagan. But South Carolina was balanced last night, man. They had 9 guys get on the floor. All 9 got at least a bucket. South Carolina shot 46.7% from the floor. 33.33% from deep, 9 of 27. And here's what I loved. Defensively, they swarmed Ole Miss last night. South Carolina got off 5 more field goal efforts than Ole Miss did. 60 attempts. They knocked down 28. Ole Miss got up 55. They also knocked down 28. They shot 51%. And that is something that is going to have to be addressed by Lamont Paris. You cannot let a team like Ole Miss shoot 51%. You got to keep them on that sub 50% number. Primarily because when you start lining it up around tournament time, and this is a tournament team, not just a tournament team, but I suspect you're in the neighborhood of a 6-7 seed right now. You've got to keep that number below 51%. Where you did make that money was you allowed Ole Miss to take 10 3-point efforts in the game. South Carolina lifted up 27 threes on the night. Now, 9 of 27 is borderline acceptable. Like borderline acceptable. I'd like to see that number closer to 12, 13. I'd like to see that number closer to 40% when you are playing a team like Ole Miss, who is very quick, very aggressive. But I'll tell you what I like the most out of this. South Carolina established their offense last night. And their offense last night was drive and penetrate, look for BJ to the right, look for a runner to the left. You would see Michi or Colin or whoever with the ball at the top of the arc, drive to the block. BJ Mack would step to the opposite block, and wherever the free runner on the other side was, run to the corner, run to the 3-point arc on the outside. And when you drive, find out where the defense commits. Because if you drive, Matt goes to the other block, and a shooter runs to the corner, there are 3 possible destinations for the ball to get lifted from. There's the drive into a layup. There's the dish to BJ on one side. There's the dish to the shooter on the other. And if that's the spot you're in, if you're a defense, whether you're in man or zone in that spot, you have got a shot from the ball driver, the penetrator, and you've got 2 passing lanes. There are 3 different things that you have to defend there. You've got to defend the drive. You've got to defend the passing lane underneath and the passing lane out wide. And the way that South Carolina was utilizing picks and motion in order to open up to spring that drive to the basket, South Carolina was doing a spectacular job of creating a situation where there were 2 defenders to defend 3 possible outcomes. There were 2 defenders on one side of the floor who had to pick, do we want to stop the drive and layup? Do we want to focus on the drive layup and the dish to BJ, or the drive layup and the dish to the corner? And I thought South Carolina's ball handlers last night did a fantastic job of recognizing where the Ole Miss defense was leaning. If it was leaning to the outside, if Carolina lifted and made a couple of threes back to back and they started shading to the 3, bang, little handoff over to the oppo block for the backside layup. If they decide that they're going to cut out both passing lanes, take it yourself. I think, and this is something I've appreciated about Lamont Paris's offense, it is structured, it is organized, it is choreographed, it is not robotic. I have seen some coaches before that installed an almost robotic mentality into the team. The offense says you go from A to B, set a pick, go from B to C, get the pass, drive to D, and pass to E. In Lamont's offense, it is, it's drawn up to go A to B, set the screen, B to C, drive to D, pass to E, whatever. But if between B and C, you realize that a defender has gotten out of position, if you realize that the backside zone help has not slid over across the lane to take away that pass, then make it. I love that about what this offense did last night. There are times that the old school KISS mentality is important. And I'm not talking about Gene and Paul and Ace. I'm talking keep it simple, stupid.
Okay. I got really disappointed there for a second, but you brought it back. So
it is.
If you're not watching the stream, you don't know what you just missed.
Give the old Gene Simmons, man. It is a fundamental to me for coaches to not overcomplicate where things don't need to be complicated. If you followed this show, you know that I, certified knower of ball, very regularly point out that a lot of times beating a team is real simple. Super Bowl. I'll tell you right now, to me, Kansas City winning this game is simple. Despite all the skill position talent that San Francisco has, beating San Francisco is simple. Get to Brock Purdy. That's it. That's it. It's not that simple for San Francisco. Getting to Patrick Mahomes isn't the same as getting to Brock Purdy. Just get to Brock Purdy. You get to Brock Purdy, you're going to be fine. That's the game to me. Sometimes the simple approach will work. I like this offense out of Lamont Paris. It is not overly complicated. It is, here's the concept. We had, I talked about this the other day. It's one of my favorite things that I have heard a coach say in a very long time. 2 Wednesdays ago, I was calling a Furman basketball game. Furman versus Samford. And Samford is a real unique college basketball team. They're interesting to watch. Samford loves to do a couple of things. They love platoon substitutions, right? They're substituting 3, 4, 5 guys at a time. They love platoon substitutions, and they love a full court press. They live and die by the full court press. And Furman wins the game. Bob Ritchie comes up. We're doing the post-game interview with Bob Ritchie. And I said, Coach, talk to me a little bit about how you handle when you play a team like Samford that does not play basketball like anybody else that you play. And Bob Ritchie, the coach of the Furman Paladins men's basketball team, said it's about chaos versus concept. It's about chaos versus concept. You address one with the other. If the other team is trying to create chaos, you match them with a solid concept. If the other team is playing very solid concept basketball, then you try to make the game chaotic. And whoever is better at the one side that they are doing, whoever does that thing better is going to win the game. Now, for a lot of coaches, they're going to demand that you are excellent with the concept so that no matter what is happening, your concept wins. And there are other teams like Samford who live and die by chaos. It's just chaos for the entire 40 minutes. It's chaos. Chaos, chaos, chaos. The way you beat chaos is with concept, and the way you beat concept is with chaos. I love that from Bob Ritchie, and I agree with it entirely. And what I saw out of South Carolina last night was later in the game, once Ole Miss, who was down 12 at the half, once Ole Miss, by the way, Ole Miss won the second half 34-25. When Ole Miss got to a point when they were trying to cause chaos, South Carolina settled down and ran the concept. And the concept was real simple. Penetrate from the top of the key, create 2 passing lanes, almost like an in-motion triangle. Almost like an in-motion triangle. I'm going to drive down the elbow to the block. When I'm getting to the block, I have 3 options. I can take it myself. I can dish it left to my big man. I can dish it right to the kicker or whatever side of the floor they're on. I go left for the 3. I go right for the big man. Either way, I'm good. And that concept was just perfect last night, man. They just drilled it into that game. There were plenty of times I thought last night, that South Carolina could have fallen apart. There were plenty of times last night that South Carolina could have let the game get away from them a little bit. And they didn't. They just, like I said, they just ran the concept. I loved it. That is exactly what I want to see out of this team making its way to tournament time. Run the damn concept and run it well. And I thought they did. I thought they did. That looked like a tournament team. That did not look like a team that the moment was too big for them. That did not look like a team that was going to allow Chris Beard, a very good coach, terrible person, very good coach, to dictate the game to them. South Carolina did what a good team, a tournament team at home is supposed to do. Dictate the pressure of the game. Dictate the pace of the game, the flow of the game. No, we're not going to let you turn this into a track meet. This is going to be a defensive grind down the stretch. We're going to run our concept. In fact, inside that last 4 minutes, while Ole Miss would not go away, I loved how many times South Carolina got the break, recognized they had the break, but not the numbers. It's a 2-on-2 game or a 3-on-3 game down the floor off the fast break. We don't have the numbers. Pull it back out. Don't force it. There's no need to create a dramatic top 10 moment here. Pull it back out, reset the offense, run the concept. I loved it. Last night, I think, was the night that the rest of America had to look at this team and go, pretty good. They may not be the most athletically gifted team that makes the tournament. But again, ask any basketball coach. If another team is more athletic than you, how do you beat them? Excellent, well-executed concept, and nail the fundamentals. And I thought the Gamecocks did that last night. I was very impressed. All right, we'll talk more about that game later on. We'll talk some Clemson basketball later on as well, as the Tigers went up to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and got themselves a huge dub as well. We'll break that game down. Texter said, Rob, welp, a big win and another 10-year extension for Brownell. Great. Mediocrity reigns. Dude, you were 1-62 at Chapel Hill going into that game.
Still, that's the mentality. That's what you've come to expect. So, I mean, hopefully he turns it around and is able to continue off of this victory to greater heights than he's ever seen before. But history would say probably not.
We'll talk about that game and where Clemson sits. I'm going to tell you right now, as of right now, in my ever so humble and yet frequently correct opinion, South Carolina's a tournament team. Clemson is planted firmly on the bubble. One more win like that one for Los Tigres, and they're in. We'll talk more about it as we move on. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo. Yep, knew that was coming, is on the ones and twos. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is the Fan Upstate.
Consistency is my strength. It's like the only one. You can be consistently bad, but at least, you know, people know what they're going to get. Yeah, I almost hit the button just because he said it a couple of times.
I know you did. I saw you lining it up. The pleasure is exclusively ours, Mike. You know, if we can turn ourselves into zoo animals for a couple hours and it makes you guys feel entertained, that's literally our job, buddy. We're here to help.
I don't feel caged. I feel like a superstar. Of course, probably a lot of caged people feel that way too, because they don't know they're caged. I like her. She's very traffic person sounding.
Progressive presents Precious Moments. Hey Jess, want to come for a ride on my motorcycle?
Although I wonder what creepy weather guy would sound like doing traffic.
The exchange you just heard didn't actually happen, but it could.
after Exterminator Bro yesterday came, which, by the way, per our conversation yesterday, we had a window of noon to 4, I think, was our window. And then I got a call at 11 going, hey, we're going to be there between 11:30 and 11:45. And I'm like, oh, for a week, you've been telling me my window's noon to 4. For a week, I've been planning around being home at noon. And then you call me and you're like, oh, no, about half an hour before the window opens. Oh, and by the way, if you can't be there between 11:30 and 12, we'll have to reschedule. Okay, dog. Anyway.
Apparently you made it.
I did made it. So
I
after
was still sitting there waiting to work.
Do what?
I said I was still sitting there waiting to work your whole way there. Anyway.
So I get to the house. Exterminator Bro comes. He cleans up the house. He replaces the rat traps and all that. And then he leaves. So I go sit in the desk in the studio and I'm listening to Sports Talk Radio. And there was a dude on a station in Kansas City because I'm listening to the sports shows in both cities. And the guy, he's a host. And he talks like this. And I'm like, what are you, an Addams Family character? What are we doing? And I wasn't going to do this, but now I'm going to do this because it came up on our live stream, which you can watch at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate by going to YouTube and searching and subscribing to The Fan Upstate, or on Twitch. If you're one of the Utes, Yana, you can go to Twitch and search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show and not miss a moment of broadcasting. Yesterday, if you listened to the show at all, you heard one of those, observational segments that I am so fond of on the show. And I complained about businesses that operate in these windows. Yeah. Sir, your window is noon to 5 p.m. Please be available. It's like, when did we stop setting appointments and start setting appointment windows? You need to be there between noon and 5 p.m. Oh, and by the way, we could come at noon or 5 or anywhere in between. And if you're not available at the exact minute that we pull into your driveway for this 5-hour window we gave you, we're leaving immediately. And you'll have to reschedule with us. Well, yesterday, we had a window for our bug guy. I told you I thought the bug guy was coming on Monday. Turns out the bug guy was coming on Tuesday. And the window for yesterday's bug guy visit was from noon to 4. 12 to 4. That's the window we got. So, because we set the appointment last week, I knew that on Tuesday I needed to be home between noon and 4. I know exactly and precisely how long it takes me to stop working, to load up the tablet of truth and the laptop into the backpack, get home, get it back out of the car, get inside, whatever, to be ready to open the door at noon. And also, full and damn well that if I'm home and ready for the guy at noon, he's coming at 4, right? And so I'm sitting in the fortress of nerditude after the show, and I get a call from the lady friend who says, hey, I just got off the phone with Bug Guy. And Bug Guy said he's going to be there at 11:30. The window was 12 to 4. The window had been 12 to 4 for over a week. And the Bug Guy called us at like 10:45 and went, the window is now 11:30. And if you can't be there at 11:30, we'll have to reschedule for tomorrow. Will that work? So not only did they give me a week and a half of a window of 4 hours long, that I had to not do anything else but just be home for that 4 hours on a weekday, but then they call 30 minutes beforehand and go, hey, your window? Ain't your window no more. It's 11:30. And by the way, if you're not there in 40 minutes when we get there, we're not doing it today either. We'll have to reschedule and set another 4-hour window another day. America, we got to stop with this, dude. I told the lady friend, I'm like, yo, I'm about to switch bug companies because I'm not going to live this way. I'm not going to live this way. I'm not going to live in a world where I've got to be scheduled down to the minute to get where I need to get and do what I need to do. But everybody that I am paying money to provide something to me, I've got to scratch my entire. Could I go out to lunch yesterday? Nope. Could I run errands yesterday? Nope. Could I do any of those things yesterday? Nope. Because I had a 4-hour window where the guy could show up at any given point, and then he is going to call me an hour before the window and go, hey, remember how I said that you have to wait for me for 4 hours to show up? Now, I will not wait a freaking minute for you, dude. I wanted to call the guy and be like, hey, my window to be home is like 11:30 to 12:30. I'm going to need you to be available for that window. How you think that would have went, man?
You probably should have did that. It would be being a sort of here's the thing. We're on the air, been on the air for a long time. And sometimes you don't think that there might be a chance that maybe they were listening to you and trolling you. So you don't think there's any chance at all that the bug company is trolling you?
I don't. And let me tell you why. Here's the reason why. Because when we have, and this is probably an egotistical thing to say. In fact, I know for a fact it is. But whenever we have people that have to come to the house to do something, install something or bug guy or whatever, we always book it under the fiance's name. We don't book it under my name, right? Because I'm
I
lightly
do
paranoid.
I do the same thing.
Mild paranoia. Like, I'm not worried about it, except when I am, because I had one time in the past where a bug guy, when I lived by myself, where a bug guy showed up and he knew who I was. Super nice guy, but he would show up for an appointment, and after he was done doing his bug guy work, dude, he would like sit at my kitchen table to just talk, just chat. And it's like, I'm a real nice guy. I really am. I'd like to think that most of y'all that have met me in public, I'll shake hands and talk to anybody for as long as you want.
He's not nice to me, but I don't deserve it.
Right, exactly. You keep playing that damn baby every morning. I'm a nice dude. If you come up to talk to me when I'm out in public, I am not the dude that's going to be like, hey, I got to go. Like, I'll sit and talk to the chagrin of my better half, probably longer than I should most times. Not a problem. I saw Jersey Joe at the hockey game last Friday night. Sat and talked to him for a few minutes, right? Absolutely love to. But bug guy came to my house, and every time he would come, he would spray, he would do his thing, and then would just sit at the kitchen table and chat. Hey man, what do you think about Dabo? What do you think about his NIL stuff? What do you think about the portal? And it's like, dude, I think I'm in my house, and I'd like for you to leave so I can take my pants off, please and thank you, right? So whenever the fiance and I have like a service, somebody coming to the house.
Maybe if you went ahead and took your pants off, he would have
damn sure left. Whenever we have somebody, so when we had the internet guy come hook up the fiber optic, because we're team fiber now. Whenever the bug guy comes, whenever somebody's got to come to the house to do something, we book it under her name just in case.
Yeah, there's this problem though, and I have this problem too. There's like Rob Brown show stuff in your house.
There is.
Yeah.
Like 9 jerseys with my name hanging on it around
Same
the house.
with me. The
But look, once they're there,
security guy came. I wasn't there. And my wife is like, well, he saw a poster and he's like, oh, I listen to that show all the time. And she's like, yeah. And then, it can be awkward. It really can.
Once they're there, they're there. It is what it is, especially when they come during the day. She can't leave her work. I got to leave mine to go home. It kind of is what it is. We just try to keep it DL as we can until it happens.
Those real job people can't leave their job.
But I'm about like next time that I've got a window of noon to 4 set for a week and a half. And then they go, actually, the window is 11:30 to 11:31. And if you miss it, we're not coming back. I'm going to go listen. My window to be home is 11:45 to 12:15. And if you're not available, I'm finding a new bug guy.
That's a great question, Steven. So where does bug guy fall on the hate list?
Dramatically below.
Okay.
Dramatically
all right,
below
all right.
Herb. to answer the question.
Because well, unlike Urban, the bug guy serves a purpose that you're paying for, and probably does a really good job.
Right, and the bug guy doesn't like the bug. And for the record, it's not the bug guy's fault. The bug guy works for a bug guy
If
company.
the bug guy is dancing with a blonde in the bar, that's his own business.
Again, it was never a problem with dancing with blondes in bars. I spent the majority of my life doing that. That's not why Herb was a jackass. It's one of many reasons he was a jackass. Bug Guy hasn't offended me personally. And again, I know Bug Guy. The Bug Guy's Bug Guy boss was like, hey, dude, I need you out of that guy's house by 11:45 because we have other people with 5-hour service windows that we got to try to fit in. I'm not mad at Bug Guy.
So they knew that you were a talker, and you might cause them to be late to
No
the
chance.
next.
No
okay.
chance. It's that they don't care about anybody but themselves. And oh yeah, pay me. Like, stop it. We as Americans need to start demanding better of American businesses, and the scheduled window, it's gotta go. That and hey, I just handed you a thing. No, scratch that. I stood here while you checked yourself out of the convenience store. Can I catch a tip?
Feel a little like maybe I should get rid of that, but you know.
Probably. Hey, we got to take a break.
Is that akin to like playing a Bill Cosby cut? I mean,
Whoa.
oh yeah, so you're playing that. Fine.
Sports flash.
Wow. Can only go up from there. Clemson went to Chapel Hill last night to square off with the Tar Heels, a place they were 1-62 in their last 63 games. You can make that 2-62 as Brad Brownell got his first win at UNC since 2020 with a 80-76 win. PJ Hall led all scorers with 25 and 9 boards, while Joseph Girard had 21, including 15 from behind the line. Clemson moves to 5-6 in conference with a trip to Syracuse on tap Saturday. Their first game as a ranked team resulted in their first win as a ranked team. And the South Carolina Gamecocks put away Ole Miss last night, 68-65. Colin Murray Boyles led South Carolina with 16, and Talon Cooper added 12. The Gamecocks shot 47% from the floor. Tune in tonight as Fern Paladins take on Mercer right here on The Fan. Hey man, I'm just reading what okay, fine. Don't blame me. I didn't write the stats. Someone else did. I will double check it though, James. Wouldn't want to be inaccurate about them Tigers.
All right, so I have to share with you that I found some joy yesterday. I was working on a TikTok video. When I opened TikTok, I found this TikTok account of a guy who is a 70-plus-year-old Marine veteran who was a sniper. And now he plays war games, Call of Duty and stuff like that. And he has an account where he streams himself playing these games, except for he streams them using military tactics in the game and just wrecking people. And so his favorite thing to do, and I watched and laughed at this guy for like 30 minutes yesterday, is play a sniper, go to the back of the map, and use actual sniper tactics to wreck the map. And then just talk old man junk to kids that he's destroying in these games. And he hit a guy with a headshot from like 2,000 meters. And it was real funny because the guy's on the other side of the map and he sees him and that guy's sniping. So he's saying there. So this guy pulls up this book and somebody on the stream is like, what's in the book? And he's like, oh, this is calculations to find out where on this particular scope I need to line up to get my distance right. And he sits there and he explains the math as he's doing it. And then he goes back to the game and he moves the scope up to just the right notch. And he freaking headshots the guy from like 2,000 meters. And then he goes, we're very good at what we do. I was like, holy crap, you are terrifying, Grandpa. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's the guy you want on your side, though, in real life.
We're very good at what
During
we
the
do.
zombie apocalypse, that's your man right there. Them zombies ain't getting anywhere near you.
Oh, man, it was funny.
Keep him supplied with bullets, and you're good to go.
We're very good at what we do. It's like, golly, man.
Smith and James in the first break.
10-4.
AmericanEagle.com at 773 Network. That's AmericanEagle.com 773 Network.
See what you've done, James, because I can either confirm your stats or Rob's stats. I just won't read that story anymore. That's a win for me.
What stats? Oh, the 2 and 60?
Yeah,
I pulled those directly from the big stick.
yeah,
So
but you had 2 and 62 on here.
they are because
This
there were
is 2 and
right that they were. I'll look it up, but I'm 99% sure my number is right.
hey, I just won't read a Clemson story anymore. I don't have a problem with that.
They were 1-59 going into 2020. Then they won in 2020. That made them 2-59, and then they lost 2 more since then, which
Yeah,
makes them 2-60 or 1-62
for integrity
And then they won
purposes.
last night.
I'm just not going to read it anymore.
No, my number's right.
Okay, all right.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, with our number 2 of the Rob Brown radio program right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown and the great one, Lonzo, with you. If you would like to be a part of the radio broadcast, say hypothetically you're a Gamecock basketball fan. Say hypothetically you're a Clemson Tiger basketball fan. Now is the time to ignore Lonzo and get in on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone.
No, if you ignore me, then you can't get on the phone, the fan phone. You can ignore what I do, but if you call, I'm the one who's answering the phone. So I just
844-326-3663 is the number. Text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. You can also tweet me at The Rob Brown Show. You can tweet the great one at Lonzo on Word, at Lonzo on Word. And you can tweet everybody at the station at The Fan Upstate. All the different ways to get in touch with the radio broadcast. So, a lot of stuff we need to get to. A lot of stuff we need to talk about on the show today. We've got to get into Super Bowl. We started yesterday with your exotic props. We got more. Of course, we got more.
suck it, Ray.
The Madre yesterday was listening to this. So, during the AFC Championship game, I put a bet on number of times Taylor Swift would be shown in Baltimore. And that number was 4.5. I went with the under. I'm like, okay, and it's a away game. There's a little bit of unjustified backlash, but backlash nonetheless. I'm going to go with the under. They showed her 4. I hit that bet. The Madre was like, you bet on everything. And I'm like, yeah, anything I can put a bet on, I absolutely
Well, they're
will.
only going to show her when Travis does something amazing, which, 4 horsepower is average.
I'm going over in this game. And
In
the
Super
over-under
Bowl,
in this
yeah.
game, by the way, is 6.5. And I'm going to go with the over. And I'm going to go with the over because the AFC Championship game, sure, you're going to get some Swifties in there. Every Swiftie's watching the Super Bowl.
Also, they'll show her dancing during Usher.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, whether
Halftime
she's
show.
on the stage or still in the booth, they will show that. I mean,
100%.
there's going to be some extra moments for her.
They're showing her twice in the pregame. Now, the question mark is, will they do it like you're going to see her in the pregame? Will they immediately cut to her like around kickoff, right? Before the game, one of the things they love to do early in the game, start showing the celebrities in attendance. Tay-Tay's going to be number one. You're going over under on Travis Kelce big plays because, like you pointed out, every time 87 does a thing, they're going to go straight to her. I think Travis Kelce's going to have a big game, as I did during the AFC title game. TK comes up with 2 touchdowns. That's 2 free Taylor squares right there. Now we're sitting on 3. I just got to get 4 more. Is there room for 4 more sprinkled around the game if I'm right about Travis?
You didn't count entrance, right? Because they'll probably.
No, but that won't count because it's got to be whistle to whistle.
Does it?
It's got to be kick off the final
Okay.
whistle.
All
It's
right.
got to be in the game.
So
itself.
so halftime does count though.
I believe that halftime depends on the book you go to, but I believe most of the books are going to count halftime. You're getting at least one for free in the halftime show. That here's the other thing, and this is the wild card. This is why I'm going over. We talk about anytime Travis does anything. What influencer feels the need to be as close to Taylor Swift at all times as possible? Britney, Mrs. Mahomes.
She's not an influencer.
She absolutely is,
She's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure.
She's got a soccer team that she's up.
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
watch
no,
the
no, for sure.
documentary? I mean, come on.
Brittany, the influencer Mahomes, locks herself in right next to Tay-Tay. And why wouldn't she? She wants that screen time, bro. So they lock in on Brittany every time that Patrick does something. If Patrick picks up a first down, runs in for a touchdown, they're going to Brittany. Who's Brittany next to? Taylor. That counts as a Taylor appearance.
They should be glad I'm not, because I would just go split screen. Super Bowl, Taylor Swift.
Put the little Tay-Tay box
Yeah,
in the corner.
just to make people mad.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. All right, listen, we're going to talk about all that and more. We got plenty of stuff coming up, plenty of stuff to talk about on the show. But before we do any of that, it's almost time to clock in for work. It's almost time to talk sports at work. And if you're going to talk sports at work, you're going to need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "Groovy." Even before your first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, ladies and gentlemen. The top 3 stories in the sports world that you need to know before you get to the office and you take that first smoke break and you start talking sports with your coworkers. And these right here, them stories. Let's get to item number 1. We mentioned both of them ever so briefly, but it was an enormous day last night in Palmetto State Shooty Hoops. The number 15 ranked Gamecocks of South Carolina had an opportunity to get to 20 wins in 23 games for the second time since they joined the Southeastern Conference, and mission accomplished. A 68-65 win last night over the Ole Miss Running Rebels. You ended up with 16 points for Colin Murray Boyles. You also had 9 boards, a steal, an assist, and a couple of blocks out of him as well. You had 9 Gamecocks enter the game. You had 9 Gamecocks get onto the score sheet, and maybe none of them bigger than Miles Stute knocking down a banger three with just minutes left to play to stymie a Ole Miss run that had gotten them within a couple. The momentum belonged to the Rebels. Studi knocked down the corner three, and the air came out of the Rebs. Studi 4 of 5 from deep in this game, had a rebound, an assist, and a block down the stretch as well. South Carolina had the pressure turned on by becoming an AP-ranked top 25 team, and they answered that pressure at the house. That is exactly what I wanted to see. I told you yesterday on the radio program, now that you're ranked, now that you got that respect you're listening, you're looking for, you're wanting, you've been waiting on, you got to understand there's a target on your back now. And you answer the call. Good news for South Carolina. They got another homer before they go on the road for another top 15 ranked matchup. They are back at the house this Saturday at 1 o'clock when they host Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt got slammed by UK last night. They're going to come in hungry for a dub, hold home serve, get another dub. You'll be ranked probably closer to 11 or 12 next week. And then you're staring down the pipe. Valentine's Day, only appropriate because I love this matchup. The Gamecocks on the road at Auburn on 2/14. They were not alone because the Clemson Tigers went on the road up to Chapel Hill, North Carolina last night and got an 80-76 win. W. Eat that dub, said Jameis Winston. Over the North Carolina Tar Heels last night. 80-76 was your final on that one. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if you've seen this guy play yet, Lonzo, but Ian Shiflin for Clemson, this dude blows my mind because he just looks like every average pedestrian generic dude that you played against in high school, right? Like he's kind of a skinny fat dude. He's got the big bouncy hair, rocks the headband. He doesn't like, if you walk through the cafeteria on campus, you wouldn't be like, oh, hey, there's the guy that plays gut out basketball on the road at North Carolina. You'd be like, oh, that guy's probably studying statistics or something. That guy's probably nothing more than a gigantic dork.
Go outside, nerd.
He's not. He's a G, man. He's a baller. Shiflin had 14, 4 of 6 from the stripe, 11 boards, an assist, and a steal. Went 5 of 7 from the floor in 28 minutes. And while there were other guys that scored more, Joe Girard had 21, PJ Hall had 25, down the stretch, when this team needed boards to keep North Carolina from going on a run, Ian Shiflin was the guy who kept getting them. Then you had PJ Hall, 8 of 24 of 10 from deep, who pitched in 9 boards, 3 assists as well with 25 points. And Joseph Girard III. Girard last night was another guy that down the stretch was knocking down enormous shots. He had a couple of late game threes. North Carolina would not go away. Clemson jumped out to a 16-point lead early. And then in the second half, Carolina went on a run, started chipping away. The lead went down to 12 and then 10 and then 8 and then 6 and then 4. And you're like, oh no, they're going to Clemson. And they didn't Clemson. They didn't. Camera went to Brad Brownell at one point. And I guess it's subjective. I'd probably use a different word if they did melt down and lose this game. Brad looked composed, honestly. Like he wasn't wearing his emotion on a sleeve. He wasn't letting the pressure of the moment get to him. He was coaching. Like, I'm not saying he was just standing there staring around. But he was coaching, and he just looked composed for the most part. There were a couple of spots he got frustrated, and I know he got frustrated because I think he's still frustrated about that blown call at the end of the Duke game a couple of games ago that frankly cost them that game, in my opinion. And there were a couple of spots where there were some bad calls in Carolina's favor last night. And I think that was probably kind of spinning circles in his head a little bit, right? Are we about to get screwed again? But he kept coaching, and this team kept pounding the glass, and this team kept playing good, solid, fundamental basketball down the stretch. We're not letting North Carolina control the emotion of the game. They were making Carolina throw up low percentage shots instead of doing what they wanted to do, getting the ball to Armando Bacot down low and letting him own the glass, own their iron. I was impressed. I was very impressed. Clemson gets the 80-76 win. They are back in action this Saturday on the road against Syracuse. Let's get to item number 2. I don't really know how I feel about this. On one hand, the announcement that came yesterday that the parent companies of ESPN, Fox Sports, and TNT are all joining forces to launch a joint streaming service in the fall made me go, okay. You know what technology does that makes life easier? It streamlines, right? It streamlines. That's what it does. It streamlines. I want to know that when I pick up the tablet of truth, and when I pick up the Pixel, and when I turn on my Samsung smartwatch, and when I go home and I've got my Alexa in every room, I want to know that if I tell Alexa something, it's going to pop up on the Pixel. And when I text somebody something on the Pixel, I can go read it on the tablet. And when I enter a calendar entry on the tablet, my watch is going to remind me of it the next day like I ask it to. It is streamlining. I want as much of my life as I can control in a very small area to be there for me, right? That's what I want. That's the game plan. This feels like on its surface, it's pretty nice. One streaming platform that has got ESPN, and it's got the Deuce and the SEC net and the ACC net and the Big Ten net and FS1 and FS2 and the this channel and the that channel and the other channel and most everything that's not CBS and NBC is all going to be on one platform. And yeah, it's going to cost something. But I will also say that means that I can eliminate some other expenditures, right? I can get rid of paying for ESPN Plus. That can go towards the new thing. I can get rid of paying for Fox Sports Go. That'll be on this new platform. That's all well and good. And a long time ago, we would have just called this cable, right? This is just cable. All the channels available on one platform. You turn it on, you scroll to the channel you want to watch, and bang, there you go. It's just cable. But it's streamlined. And I'm kind of back and forth. I'm like, are we just going back to cable, but now it's provided over the internet instead of on a cable? I'm curious as to what the cost of this will be. I'm curious as if I'm going to have to come off $100+ a month to pay for this package, or is it going to be, $25, $29? That's respectable. I can get down with that. I don't know. I don't know what the build out of this thing is going to be, but I do find it very interesting. And I find it very interesting because of the amount of exclusive sports action that will be on this platform that you won't be able to get anywhere else. Now, there are some things you won't be able to get. You're not going to get Thursday Night Football on this package. That's still on Amazon. You're not going to be able to get Sunday Night Football. That's going to stay on its network that is on a different platform right now. But a good solid chunk of the NFL, including if you're an NFC guy, is going to be available here. Monday Night Football, going to be available here. College football, the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, all their networks, going to be available on this platform. I'm good with it, Zoe, in that I want as many options. I want as many viewing destinations as I can get on a single platform to streamline it.
You know what? I already have that. It's called satellite. And all those channels that you talked about I already have. So why would I get rid?
You don't have to.
And I pay extra for Big Ten Network because there's a sports package. I pay extra for a sports package, which comes with that and Longhorn, like anyone would ever watch that, and some other things. But I wouldn't get rid of what I have now just to go to that when I already have it. So you're right. It's just basically going back to cable or going back to satellite. And I don't see the advantage for me to do that.
Again, like I don't think it's going to be an advantage for everybody. I don't have satellite. I'm rocking YouTube TV. Not all of this is available on YouTube TV. Now, problem for me is doesn't mean I can get rid of YouTube TV, right? Because that's got CBS on it. I need that for the AFC games. That's got NBC. I'm going to need NBC for the playoffs.
Yeah, so does satellite. And probably so does cable. I just want to point that out.
So I think that.
So what are they offering that you can't already get in your cable package or your satellite package?
I don't have a cable or satellite package.
I know.
That's the point, right?
I know, but a lot of people do. What I'm saying is, how do you entice the people who already have this on satellite or cable to cut the cord and go with that when you're already getting all that?
I don't think,
unless you can make it cheaper and you can make it more enticing that way.
Well, I don't think so. First off, they can't, because if you are watching TV for anything other than sports, you can't add this and get rid of that other thing if you're watching Big Bang Theory for whatever reason, right? But what I do think you can look at,
I am not taking away my wife's CSI marathons because she loves that.
No,
and
I'm not taking
her Magnolia TV. Not taking that away.
I'm not taking Law and Order SVU. I'm not taking Olivia Benson off the tube for sure. I get it.
Which you can tell what year it is by how much work she's had done. I'm just saying.
You watch your mouth when you talk about Olivia Benson.
It's the truth. If we're talking about the same one,
tone.
are we talking about Mariska?
You watch.
Are we talking about Mariska Hargitay?
I honestly, I got to tell you, I know Olivia Benson. Could not tell you her actress's name. I watch that show 5 episodes a day. All right. Could not tell you the actress's name. Olivia Benson, actress. Yes. Mariska Hargitay.
So you can tell by what year it is, by how much work she's. Hey, listen, do what you got to do to keep working. But, you will speak. As an observer, I can,
You will speak with respect when you talk about Livy.
How is that disrespectful? Right? She's had work done. People do that.
Watch it.
You could have had work done for all I know. I don't know.
Texas says, I get all those channels on Hulu too for around $100. You get Big Ten Net, ACC Net, SEC Net, FS2. I don't think you, and I could be wrong.
They're not offering anything that you can't already get somewhere else. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And that's where, okay. So to get where I was going with this, the thought I had is, on one hand, all this stuff is available. Are you willing to pay a little bit more to have it all in one place? But the second thing is the big fear, specifically when it comes to college football, but really with sports as a whole, is when the money is piled into one area. Because then wherever the money is piled, the people that are in control of that area have control over sports, right? And so if we end up in a spot where ESPN and Fox, who most of us, or I should say Disney and Fox, who most of us already believe pretty much have a stranglehold on college football. Whatever they say goes.
And just about everything, period, entertainment-wise.
The chokehold that the SEC and the Big Ten have on college football is not because of the SEC and the Big Ten. It is because of ESPN backing the SEC and Fox backing the Big Ten and providing billions of dollars over the next decade to those two conferences that nobody else gets. And now, with this streamlining and this grouping of those two entities, while the two conferences are linked arm in arm at this point with their advisory group, they have even more power now. They have even more power because now we're siphoning all the money directly to them. And it's even harder for a competitor to pop up, right? If I want to launch another network, like, I don't know, the CW, that competes with these big dogs, how the hell am I going to compete with them when they are arm in arm on the battlefield? You can't. You won't. Decreases competition, increases control over the sport of those two. Now, you'll notice that's 2 items in the water cooler cheat sheet. Why 2? Because the next one involves Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney hanging out together. And it could have an impact on all of college football. Tell you what that is when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got a live read right here. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. All right, dudes and dudettes, thanks for hanging in there. YouTube TV is the best thing that was ever made. YouTube TV is great. And the fact that it lets you record into a library is fantastic. Fantastic.
By visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-69 6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Total by Verizon is wireless that goes all in for you. That means unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon, priced by us at $25.
Which I need to go clear out my YouTube TV library now at this point. I got so much stuff saved.
Sounds pretty hard to beat, but all in is all in. So we added international calling to fill the year with more, hey girl, because it can't be total unless it's all in. Find a store and exclusive deals at totalbyverizon.com. Monthly rate will activate with auto pay discount beginning the month after you enroll plus taxes and fees. Additional restrictions apply. See website for data management practices and full terms.
Meet Cheryl. Hey, she's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates. 3, 2, but she's not worried.
I did. Kelvin lost his mind, man. That was spectacular. My dude went on the other side of the court to the free throw line to chew out the refs. I mean, if you're going to get tossed, that's how the hell you get tossed. If you decide you're going to get ejected, that's the way to do it.
Super Bowl 58 with Westwood One on the free Odyssey app. Download it today and search Super Bowl. AUDACY.
Sponsored by ChumbaCasino.com. Introducing Chumba Casino, the thrilling online social casino that's free to play. Head on over to ChumbaCasino.com now to join in on the fun. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Mark Ryan tells it like it is.
Coming up on a Hump Day episode of Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel, it's National Signing Day.
I hope so, James. But I don't know, man.
We'll have all of your reviews for South Carolina Ole Miss and Clemson, North Carolina. Plus, we've got Truth Serum and so much more.
Number one for real afternoon.
You seem legitimately excited that the workforce is about to get, replenished. National Signing Day.
Oh, the labor market.
Yeah. Job fair.
They may coach two teams considered fierce rivals on Saturdays in the fall. But yesterday, for one glorious shining moment, a pair of gentlemen came together. I believe there may have been some sort of Luther Vandross song playing in the background.
Luther.
As Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney linked arms, metaphorically speaking, inside of the halls of the State House in the capital of the Palmetto State itself, Columbia, South Carolina.
All we are saying is give peace a chance.
And they were not the only ones. Lamont Paris was there. Tim Beck, head coach of the football team at Coastal Carolina, was there. Dawn Staley was there. Everybody who's anybody in the world of South Carolina sports was at the State House yesterday. Why, you might ask? And it's a fair question to ask. It is because Dabo and Shane and Tim and Dawn and Lamont and the rest of the crew that were there asking state lawmakers to pass a law that would allow their schools to directly compensate their athletes. It was a call for name, image, and likeness legislation in front of the South Carolina House Education Committee, which did pass the legislation unanimously. As a matter of fact, the day started with a group photo where coaches were in the front, lawmakers in the back, because let's be honest, if you're a lawmaker, it's much about rolling elbows as it is anything else. The three football coaches were joined by dozens of other university coaches of different sports from around the state. And they were asking the State Education Committee to pass a bill that would overhaul a law passed a few years ago when NIL was just getting started. The new law would allow universities to work with companies or others who want to make NIL offers. The school could also evaluate the deals and give advice to athletes. It is similar in proposal to proposals made in other states that are also trying to effectively go around the NCAA. Dabo told the committee, quote, "We have been limited in our NIL involvement through the ever-changing guidance from the NCAA, and that has left our student athletes trying to figure out much of this on their own, navigating complex NIL opportunities without trained guidance." Shane Beamer spent some time behind the mic. He thanked lawmakers for their consideration, saying passing the bill was vital to keeping teams in this state competitive on a national level. He said, quote, "It is something we deal with daily. It is also ever-changing daily. This law would give us stability and flexibility." Coastal Carolina women's basketball coach Kevin Peterson spoke as well. He said that the small schools are in favor of this bill as well. Why? He said that lesser-known, smaller teams have a more difficult time making sure that their athletes are treated fairly in the NIL world as well. He said that on his team, he's got a couple of players right now. He said one player has signed an NIL deal that gets her a few smoothies a month. Another player signed an NIL deal that gets her some bathing suits. That's their NIL compensation. Is that a fair deal? Are those deals that are actually in the best interest of the player? Kevin Peterson says he doesn't know. He said nobody can know. He said the schools not being able to interact in these deals creates a world where these athletes are basically out there trying to do it on their own. They're college kids. They are, by and large, and again, I can say this because I used to be one, dumb. Not dumb, ignorant. Ignorant's the right word. Ignorance, not bad. Ignorant is like being a game manager. It's got negative connotations, doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means ignorant. So the law that they are putting out there that was proposed, that the House Education Committee unanimously consented to yesterday, would effectively say that the schools can get involved. Now, what happens after that, I'm not sure. The impression that I got, it means that the schools would be allowed to negotiate the NIL deals, or at least assist in the negotiation of the NIL deals, and then be the distribution facilitator for these athletes.
So they would control the money.
Not control, because it would still come down to a contract between the NIL provider and the student athlete. So it's not like.
So they haven't installed themselves as the middleman, or this is just like you're overseeing.
No, they would basically be an advocate. They would basically say, here's what we're going to do. We are going to provide the resources and the personnel so that our students are not going into these NIL deals.
So agents.
Not necessarily.
It's kind of like agents, though, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
Because advocate, agent, kind of the same thing.
No, they're not. An agent is somebody who gets payment return for that services. An advocate is not necessarily that.
I'm a little confused as to what these people are actually going to do, and how they're making money to do their job.
It is not about them making money off the athletes.
Well,
it is about
they got to get paid to do the job, right?
I'm about to tell you how it works.
Okay.
Because how do they make money? By having good programs that bring national attention and more television revenue, et cetera. How do you get the best athletes there? By taking the best care of the athletes. How do you take best care of the athletes? Get them the best possible NIL deals. Make your school known for getting athletes the best possible NIL deals. Those athletes kind of want to come there. So while you may not end up with 1 or 5 or 7% of the NIL deal, which you would end up with is a reputation that makes it easier to get athletes there in the future, because that athlete goes, hey, if I go to Clemson or South Carolina or Coastal Carolina, these schools now have permission, legal permission within the state, to help me put together great NIL deals.
Everything you just said is what an agent does.
But an agent gets paid directly,
These,
cash.
these people will get paid. They're not volunteering to do the job.
The school will do it on the behalf of the players.
Right. So they're paid agents of the school to make sure the players are treated fairly, supposedly.
If that's how you elect to describe it,
That's how you just described it.
I would say it is the school. Yes, staff representing the University of South Carolina or Clemson University or Coastal Carolina or whoever. There would be NIL experts. I'm going to use that word. NIL experts within the school. And if a player has an NIL opportunity, Joe Smith, starting wide receiver for the University of South Carolina, gets a call from Bob's Used Cars. Hey, Joe, it's Bob.
Bob gets a lot of air on this program.
Somebody needs to start a Bob's Used Cars just for the free plugs. Bob calls Joe and says, hey, Joe, here's the deal, man. I would love for you to represent Bob's Used Cars on campus, on TV, etc. Are you in? And Joe says, that sounds great, Bob. I'm a big fan of Bob's Used Cars. I would love to represent Bob's Used Cars. And Bob says, wonderful. In return for this, what I'm going to do is provide to you the usage of a 1994 Toyota Corolla. Well, that's not really a great deal for Joe. His value is probably higher.
I don't know.
Is
Is it jacked? It's got a good sound system.
It's a
in it.
94 Corolla.
Got
There's
some-
nothing you're doing
some-
to that
some
to make it
neon,
elite.
some LEDs.
So that's a
Vin
bad
Diesel
deal.
can make that car awesome.
That's a bad deal for Joe. But right now, no one at the school can jump in and go, Joe, that's not a good deal, bro. Don't
Yeah,
sign that deal, bud.
I get what you're saying, but if Joe don't have a car,
It's a bad deal for Joe.
okay.
It's a bad deal. Getting a thing does not mean you are getting the best value for what you are. Me taking this exact same job somewhere else when I was unemployed for $10,000 a year, that's not a good deal. Even though I'm unemployed and don't have a job, that doesn't make that a good job. It's still a bad job. It's better than no job, but it's still a bad job. So now,
If you would have had a representative of the university, an agent to help you out, then you would have.
if you want to
All
use
right.
an agent, I am going to go with this text.
Oh, and why is that a bad word? I mean, they're agents. That's what they are. I don't.
Sure.
I mean, this is a workforce. They're trying to help the workforce to be treated fairly, or at least that's what their supposed intentions are. So they're hiring agents to get out there to make sure it happens. What if they actually label these guys agents? I hope they do.
I don't care. I really don't
But you
care.
do because you don't want to say the word.
Because that's not what they are right now.
Okay.
Right now. You want to, if we get to the point where they are allowed to act as agents, see, agents in sports, agents have to be.
So this is just about they don't get a percentage.
Agents in sports have to be licensed. They have to go through training. They have to be qualified to work within the leagues. I can't just be I can't go down to Chapman High School, find a future NBAer and go, I'm an agent now. I've got to go through a whole legal process that covers my back, covers the league's back, covers the player's back, etc.
So I get what you're saying. They are agents. They just can't call themselves agents
Sure.
because then they would have to be licensed
Sure.
agents.
I am going to go with what this texter called him primarily because I love this text. He said, Rob, these schools are now hiring guidance counselors to navigate NIL. I'm actually real good with that term. Genuinely, not even smartastically, I am good with calling them guidance
I guess in a sense they're guidance counselors, but guidance counselors don't generally help you with your money, do they?
Sure, why not?
I don't.
I've got a financial counselor.
This is not.
That is literally what I call them.
You call them a guidance counselor?
Yes. Why wouldn't you?
Okay, all right.
That is literally what they are there to do: provide counsel and guide you
As
to.
the man of the people, I think the people when they hear guidance counselor, they think high school.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it what it is. What you think of does not make a thing the reality.
The people and I were simple.
Okay.
That's
well then,
just what we
allow
did.
me to talk to the haughty intellectuals out there. This is only for you, obviously. the school will basically be able to, should this law pass. And I don't know, again, it's still got to go in front of the state Senate as of right now. It's out of the committee. It is good. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. If it does pass, if it goes through the Senate at this point, Texture said in South Carolina politics, until the Senate votes, it's all for show. House and committees mean very little. Cool. I agree. Texture said Brad Brownell wasn't there. He was busy kicking North Carolina's ass. Yes, he was.
See, that's a great text, right?
That's a real good text.
That really is.
Good job, Ray. So the schools, if this passes, would be allowed to establish an NIL guidance counselor position. This would be someone or some peoples at the schools that would be able to work with the athletes. I do not know what that entails. I don't know if they could directly go to the negotiations or they would just provide a valuation of the player. Hey, we think based on the market rate around the country, your valuation for an NIL deal is X tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. We think you're worth this much. Or if they could actually go sit down at the table, in which case they would be an agent at that point because you are now doing the negotiations. It is not an agent. This is where I would draw the line. To go, Lonzo, your valuation to this company is $1 billion. It is an agent to go sit down when Lonzo's negotiating a contract, negotiate on his behalf and go, Lonzo's worth $1 billion. Now you and me are going to figure out how much you're going to pay Lonzo on his behalf, right? So I think that this would allow the schools to have a someone or someones that would operate with the players so that Joe Smith, wide receiver at South Carolina, doesn't sign a deal whose NIL value is a 94 Corolla when he could be like the guy we're going to talk in the next segment about and end up in a Lamborghini. That's what this law would do. And the fact, by the way, that Dabo was there and Dabo was making this argument, it's over. This is where we're going. If Dabo was there arguing to make sure his guys are getting better NIL cuts, he's recognized he has to give in to this. We'll talk a lot more about it as we move forward in the show. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Let's call them representatives. A guidance counselor. That's what I'm going with. I love guidance counselor. I am here to provide both guidance and counsel.
Yeah, because they care so much about the play. This is about making sure that the right money is being used to entice the right players, which is why Bob would get screwed. Hang-ups on names, man. Just hang-ups on names.
Heading down towards 385 in the Greenville area. Highway 29, Wade Hampton Boulevard. That's no reported problem between 385 and the 85 interchange. From the News Talk 98.9, the WORD Traffic Center, I'm Joy.
Sorry, I'm not talking moles.
When this happens, you need an HVAC company you can trust. A company like Priority Heating and Air. Their HVAC specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. Keep your family or business warm this winter and give Priority Heating and Air a call today.
So I will just sit here with the thinker pose. So moles have nothing to say.
Hey everybody, it's Boomer Esiason here, and eBay Motors has everything everything you need to keep your ride or die alive. From superchargers, brakes, exhaust kits, and more. With over 122 million parts, eBay Motors levels your baby up to its peak performance. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
A guy clearly was talk to texting, and he meant to say guidance counselors in high school, but it said God it counselors, and so it just sounds like he's screaming at me.
Still don't understand how you hear volume in text, but I'm just
How what?
how you hear volume in text.
Caps, man, caps.
That doesn't change the volume.
It does. All caps is yelling.
No.
That is
If
universally accepted.
If you hear yelling when you read all caps, then you've been conditioned.
Do you hear a voice in your head when you think?
I don't think. We obviously know that. I just talk.
All right. Damn it. 2-1 this week, I think.
So far,
Not great.
good week for me. I haven't had one in
Good
a while.
week for you. Good week for you. One of the better weeks you've had in a while. Real bad week for me.
And my favorite team's in the Super Bowl. So,
It's a
I
good-
mean,
real good week.
there's that.
The Rob Brown Show carries on. Robin Lonzo with you here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. For those of you relatively new to the show, if you don't know what we're talking about, Lonzo and I keep track of how many times we start talking into a microphone that we have not yet turned on. So if you ever hear us just saying random numbers, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, that's us keeping score against each other. And at the end of the week, we declare a winner who wins a prize of absolutely nothing. It's a pretty stellar game.
You win a smirk.
It's just pride.
That's what you win, a smirk.
I'm going to count that as one. You just turned your mic off on your own sentence.
No, I did not.
You did.
I did not. I was not talking when I turned it off.
You were.
I absolutely was
All right,
not.
pull in the audio after the show. 100% you did.
You write it down.
I'm going to.
I will pull it for you.
Done. 7:51 a.m. Got it. All right. So we were talking about this thing that happened
I
yesterday.
need a raspberry sound. Just realize that.
I'm putting a fart sound on my board now.
Of course you will.
With Shane
I'll
and
dump it.
Dabo. With Shane and Dabo and Dawn and Tim and the gang all getting together at the State House and asking for an updated NIL law across the state that would allow the state to be involved with the athletes as they negotiate the NIL law waters. And again, to me, the concept is real simple here. I want my schools to have the power and the ability to get my athletes the best possible deals for them, to help them end up with the best possible NIL deals they can get.
Isn't this kind of like the government helping you, though? I mean, if you're the kid, you finally have the power to get your own money, and then the school wants to get their hands in it. Whether they get any of it or not, you get a little bit of control. The school gets a little bit of control. Then suddenly you may not get that deal that you would have taken just because they're helping the look out for you.
No. And here's why. Because the school has more interest in its long term in making sure that athletes know that they are going to get the best possible deal with the assistance from the school. That is a long-term benefit versus getting a little tiny cut of these
All right.
athletes' pay.
Let me ask you. So the school sees a couple possibilities for a star athlete to get NIL, but one of those possibilities just happens to be someone who's a big booster for the school. You're saying they're not going to guide that kid towards the entity that's already contributing to the school's coffers.
They do so at their own peril,
Yeah.
at their own risk.
I think you're a little more acting a little more trusting than you are. How can you? There's a lot of money involved here. No way that this is on the up and up. It's fraught with peril. It's a bad road.
I think
Let the kid get his money. Why does the school have to be involved?
Let me tell you. Here's how. Here's why. Because it's an 18-year-old kid who is probably, for most of these kids,
Can join the military, can go out and jump and work at McDonald's without oversight.
who is probably not super well versed in negotiating deals of which his publicity is on the line. For the record, there are a lot of people, for instance, who don't believe that 18-year-olds should be allowed to join the military for that exact reason, or that 18-year-olds should be allowed to place themselves in those types of situations. Now, I don't necessarily agree with those people, but there is an argument there. So the premise here is not about let's steer these kids to our big name boosters so that those guys are happy, yada, yada, yada. Because again, you can do that if you're the school, absolutely. But you, as most people in our industry have a reputation that you have to be concerned about. And while the kids might be dumb, your reputation is going to become unavoidable. So if you get to the point where, let's say theoretically, I'm not going to pick one of the schools in this state. Let's go to the imaginary schools of XYZU and ABC State. If XYZU has a guidance counselor that is saying to these kids, hey, we think your valuation is X, and they're going to steer them towards a booster when Bob's Used Cars wants to sponsor this kid for, let's say, $100,000 a year, but you steer him to the booster, and the booster's going in for $75K, but he loves the school, so that other $25K is going to the school. Well, if that kid inevitably makes that information public, which he will. Welcome to 2024. Everything's
How
public.
can he when he's dumb?
Because he's not going to be dumb forever, and he's not going to be surrounded by dumb people. So eventually the kid goes, I found out after I signed a deal that I could have got $100K from Bob's Used Cars, but my school signed me to Jim's Used Cars for $25K less.
This
And
goes
then-
through. That's
and
happening.
then-
That's going to happen.
And then eventually that information goes public. So that 2 years later, there's a 5-star recruit who knows that he is going to get at least $100,000 because the guy ahead of them in the same role, that's what he got. And that kid's got now XYZU who did this to the other kid, and ABC State comes a calling. And ABC State goes, hey, man, we are going to get you the best deal. We don't give a damn who it comes from as long as it's the best deal for you. Where are you signing if you're that kid? To the school that's going to get you the most possible money and the best possible. And it becomes a recruiting tactic. And if your recruiting reputation goes to bleep, so does your recruiting. That's why schools are not going to, in my opinion, or scratch that, would be very, very, very dumb to take advantage of the kids with this in play. We'll talk more about it later on. Sports Flash.
Hey, Rob, XYZU.
Go ABC State.
In a move that will impact most sports watching Americans, Disney, Fox Corporation, and Warner Brothers Discovery announced the new streaming joint venture yesterday. The outfit would include all ESPN outlets, the SEC, ACC, and Big Ten networks, ABC, Fox Sports, FS1 and FS2, TNT, TBS, and True TV, but has not announced a start date nor a price point yet. Their first game as a ranked team resulted in their first win as a ranked team when South Carolina Gamecocks put away Ole Miss last night 68-65. Colin Murray Boyles led South Carolina with 16, and Talon Cooper added 12. The Gamecocks shot 47% from the floor. We are your exclusive home for the Super Bowl in the Upstate. Coverage starts at 2 p.m. Sunday as the Chiefs take on the 49ers right here on the Fan Upstate. Try not to fight today, Moles, but, sometimes you can't help it. You can tell them that I try not to fight today, because I already told them today that I was going to try not to fight, but I can't, not fight, because I don't. It's a bad move.
film Earth of a Nation. It was America's first feature-length film, clocking in at an unheard of 3 hours. It had a well-established plot that Griffith showed off film techniques never before seen and still used today. Yet the film is marred in controversy and seen as a low point in our country's history. The film is covered in racism, glorifies the KKK, tells an extreme...
Exactly. I agree.
I just ran into a wall on accident.
I was going to say,
Like shoulder first, directly into a wall.
Did you show the wall what was up?
No, it won.
Did you find a stud?
It was a hard wall.
I have a theory that these walls don't have that many studs in them because I recall when the walls were not there. So, I mean, you run into a wall.
Go through it.
Yeah, that's what. There's probably some spots where there's you might at least go halfway in. I don't think they cut corners on the corners, so that's probably what you hit was a corner. So you're probably.
They invented cable. Yeah, bingo. I do know, James, that during the what match was it the other day? There was during the NXT main event, the day or 2 days after the SmackDown, that there were very audible bleep you Rocky chants going on, like very audible.
Yeah.
To the point that they turned off the crowd mics and it got awkward because the match was quiet. It was weird.
That has the potential to only get worse.
Yep.
I was listening to something and they said, "Oh, it was the crowd where they were. It's not going to be like that everywhere." It's like, yeah, it will. This sort of thing picks up momentum, and I think for the most part, everyone feels that way. But there'll be some people that just do it because everyone else is, and it's just going to get louder and louder. But the fact that they're making this thing Thursday open to the public
is wild.
No, it just
makes me think they're going to swerve.
That they're doing this on purpose. Or am I overthinking and they're doing exactly what they're saying they're going to do? And it's going to be Rock versus Roman and screw Cody.
Dirt sheets yesterday were saying that so far they have not made the decision to change it.
But they also haven't set it in stone, which is probably what Thursday's supposed to be. Here's personally what I hope happens is that in the middle of the press conference, Drew McIntyre shows up and wrecks the whole thing.
Bingo.
And it ends up this whole thing was to build McIntyre back up. Because right now it's working. I prayed for this to happen to you. Still the best line.
That t-shirt's incredible.
You got fined for it. Cost him some money. Smith and James in the first break.
That's the first t-shirt in a long time. I'm like, I'd buy that. I don't know if I'd go quite that far yet, BTR, but it's in the ballpark. It's in the ballpark. Only because the Daniel Bryan thing was months and months and months long. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the third hour of this 4-hour sports talk extravaganza that we call the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Yeah.
No, I did that thing again. My timing's just off, and I just
listen.
I'm feeling guilty about being argumentative for 2 days in a row, and it's causing performance issues. But I am older, so I mean, things happen.
I just want to thank you for making the joke yourself, so I didn't have to.
Well,
I appreciate that because I would have had to, and then I would have come across as a jerk. But you just went ahead and elbow dropped yourself.
Self-deprecation,
that.
I believe, psychologically relieves tension in the room.
I think so.
And there's a lot of tension in this room right now. You're wearing a hockey jersey. I think you're going to pull my shirt over my head.
Tarps off, boys.
Start doing the hockey punches a la The Family. And I don't want that happening. I don't want to get a Tony D over here.
Hey. Is Brock Purdy a game manager? We've had this conversation a lot of times, courtesy of one Cam Newton creating this entire long-running narrative.
Cam Newton, influencer.
He really is. I'll tell you what, if this doesn't get his podcast trending, nothing will. So, you know who had something to say about this? Joe Montana. Joe Montana was a quarterback, you idiot. Joe Montana was on Pat McAfee show the other day, and Joe Montana got asked, what makes, now he did not get asked about, would you label him a game changer or a game manager or whatever, but he did get asked by Pat McAfee, what is it that makes Brock Purdy special? What makes Brock Purdy a Super Bowl quarterback? And Joe Montana said this.
Yeah, I think the thing I see is something that I think I figured out early on in my career was that what the offense is about, right? It wasn't about me. It was about getting the ball to the people who knew what to do with it, because I'm the mailman. This doesn't belong to me. I want to get it to somebody that knows how to run, knows how to catch. And we had, especially late in my career, when you get guys like Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Brent Jones, Roger Craig, on down the line, all you got to do is get the ball to them. And I think if you look at the weapons that Brock's working with, he's figured that offense out. He understands what his position is. He doesn't try to make a big play. He knows when that chance will come and when he needs to do it. But in most cases, it's okay to punt. I got a pretty good defense too. And that's when we had the same thing, right? That defense is pretty good. So yeah, they're going to have to earn their money too at the same time. And yeah, we're going to punt, and hopefully we don't punt too many times, but the defense, you got to, hey, you're up, let's go. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen of him is, because he understands it, he's calm in there. He has a great presence, and, he's not trying to knock you out with a football. He delivers a great catchable ball. I mean, you talk to these guys and they'll tell you, the ball, very rare does it come in there harder than it's supposed to. And so
Joe Montana says that Brock Purdy has figured out something that he had to figure out in his career too. And it is get the rock to dudes who are better at doing the things with the rock than me. Get it to the playmakers. Guys, that's a game manager, right? That's game manager. Now, game changer quarterback's got to do the same thing. Lamar's got to be looking for Zay. Pat's got to be looking for Trav. But when that is something that can be a part of your game versus the game, versus this is your game, that's game manager. And again, there's nothing wrong with this. This is why I've said for years, NFL teams are more successful with a game manager quarterback if they realize you surround them with the talent. You surround them with skilled talent, you're going to be good. Now, San Francisco is very special in the process. Christian McCaffrey is being utilized the way he should be. My biggest frustration with the Panthers over the years, was I thought that they were absolute crap in the way that they used Christian McCaffrey. And I thought it was obvious at the time. When Matt Rule was running Christian McCaffrey off guard in ISO power runs, it made me want to rip my hair out of my head. And my hair is my best quality.
It's a nice head of hair.
It's a great head of hair. And I wanted to rip it out of my skull because of how they ran McCaffrey. He goes to Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan knows how to use that guy. There are more wide receivers in the league that are nearly as versatile as Debo is. But we don't know that. Why? Because they put him out at the X and they say, run the route tree. Run the slants, run the comebacks, run the go route, run the flag, run the post, run the corner. That's your job. Whereas Kyle Shanahan looks at that guy and goes, dude, get open. Like, that's the Debo Samuel method. Go look at the concepts that San Francisco runs. And when Debo's lined up at the X, more often than not, you are going to see Debo just get open. You're going to see over on the other side, Ayuk's got a route off the tree he's supposed to run. McCaffrey's got a route out of the backfield tree he's supposed to run. And Debo is basically go get open. Go find the guy. Go find the spot. And he does that. Kyle Shanahan knows how to use that guy. Kyle Juszczyk, old school fullback. One of the most frustrating things in professional football for me is that teams don't go find Mike Allstotts. They're out there. Use is proof. And guys don't go find them. They don't go get those guys and utilize those guys. Shanahan went and found a Kyle Juszczyk. How incredibly valuable down the stretch in that NFC Championship game did Kyle Juszczyk turn out to be? Answer, very. You put guys around a guy like Brock Purdy, and a guy like Brock Purdy is going to shine. This is the exact antithesis to the argument that I've been making all year about Bryce Young. Surround a player with skill talent, and you're going to get the best out of that player. I think if you drop Brock Purdy into Carolina, I'm going to be 100 with you. I don't think the record changes. I don't think the Carolina Panthers are any different. That's not to say Brock Purdy's not better than Bryce Young. I just think Brock Purdy is, again, a guy who has a very good grasp on what McCaffrey is and does, on what Debo is and does, what Ayuk is and does, what Juszczyk is and does, what Kittle is and does. And he's mastered playing within those parameters. As Joe Montana said a second ago, your job is to be a mailman. Your job is to deliver. That's it. That's the life, man. Your job is to deliver. And I think Brock Purdy is absolutely content to be that guy, to deliver. Again, you go back and you look, because I can already feel somebody's got that phone up and somebody is furiously tapping out a text to 71307, and they are starting that text with fan, and that text is going to say when it comes in, Rob, did Brock Purdy not have 2 or 3 enormous runs down the stretch in the NFC Championship game? And the answer is yes, he did. But I'd like you to go back and look at the all-22 cam of those runs. In fact, you know what I'm going to do later this afternoon? Later this afternoon, I'm actually going to go pull the all-22 of those runs, and I'm going to break them down for you. And I want you to look at how those runs developed. I want you to look at the concept at how those runs developed, and I want you to look at the field, not just at Brock. If you want to be a certified knower of ball, as I expect listeners to the Rob Brown Show to be, you have to recognize if you're just looking at the guy who has the ball and the guy trying to tackle the guy that has the ball, you're not a knower of ball, TM. You're just a watcher of ball. And that's okay. It's okay to just be a watcher of ball. It's okay to just be entertained, but it does not mean you are a knower of ball. We like knowers of ball. We are knowers of ball. Go watch how those runs developed. Watch what Debo and McCaffrey and Ayuk and these other guys are doing on the field. Watch how Purdy determines when he's going to run versus I'm going to run. It works out great. I think this texter, that's again 71307. Start your text with FAN, FAN. We'll read them on the air. Just nailed it. He said, "Quote: I think that is exactly what a quarterback should be. I'm good at assessing the toolbox and using it to the best of the ability. Not all quarterbacks are going to be Tom Brady's or Patrick Mahomes or Drew Brees's. Most teams built around a quarterback. Some quarterbacks can only thrive in specific environments." Yes. 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 That is it. This is why I've said, do you know why Bill Belichick got the best out of Tom Brady? It's not because Hoodie was throwing a great offense. Again, the GOAT saw, 6 NFL jobs come open this year and does not have one of them. There's a reason for that. What the Hood did better than anybody else was figure out what Tom Brady needed around him in order to be the best Tom Brady. And he gave him that. What Andy Reid has done is figure out what Patrick Mahomes needs around him to be the best Pat Mahomes and given that to him. And Patrick has, pardon the expression, taken that ball and run with it. You know what Sean Payton was doing in New Orleans? Sean Payton always gets the credit for being an offensive mastermind. Sean Payton wasn't building plays the league had never seen before. Sean Payton knew exactly what and who Drew Brees was and how he fit into the NFL, and he built the offense around that guy, and Drew Brees ran with it. That's what great coaches do. That is one of the reasons that I'm real interested in seeing what the conversation is about not Jim Harbaugh in Baltimore, around John. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't think that Baltimore has built the best possible spot for Lamar to thrive in. I think if Lamar Jackson was playing for Andy Reid, Lonzo, I think the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I think you're still the Chiefs with Lamar Jackson.
It'd be a different team.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I'm not saying it wouldn't look different. I'm saying the success rate will be the same because I think Andy Reid, again, is he a great play caller? Absolutely. But he caters the play calling to giving Patrick Mahomes the best chance to thrive. And Patrick does it. Patrick doesn't shrink from the moment. Andy sets him up to thrive in the moment. And it works. Kyle Shanahan understands what Brock Purdy is. And he's taken an incredible amount of skill talent and he has built it out for Brock Purdy. I think if you took any of the other quarterbacks we're talking about and dumped them in San Francisco, same scenario. The offense would look dramatically different. The success would still be there. I go back and I look at, speaking of the devil, Sean Payton in Denver. Everybody is poo-pooing Russ Wilson. If you are poo-pooing Russ Wilson, I would like you to do me a favor. I would like you to go look at Russ Wilson's season-long stats. They're good. Russ Wilson's season-long stats were on par with Patrick Mahomes' season-long stats. Sean Payton did in Denver what he did in New Orleans. He understood what Russ is, what Russ was, and he built an offense around that. And he catered to Russ Wilson. And all of a sudden, Russ looks like Russ from 4 or 5 years ago. Russ has got numbers on par with a guy playing for another ring this season. The problem in Denver was not Russ Wilson. You could argue it was Sean Payton because he's the head coach. But the point is, the coaches that you look at as great, as all-timers, Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. This works for college too. Would anybody here like to describe J.J. McCarthy as a great quarterback? Bueller? Anybody? No. J.J. McCarthy's not a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. What did Jim Harbaugh do with the Michigan Wolverines this year? Built an offense J.J. McCarthy could run. Built an offense that catered to J.J. McCarthy. An offense that featured the run first behind Blake Corum. We're not going to put that pressure on J.J. McCarthy because I don't think J.J. McCarthy can live up to that pressure. Again, go back to that Ohio State game. Did Ohio State lose to Michigan because J.J. McCarthy smoked them? No, they did not.
It's because Ryan Day lost.
It's because Ryan Day sucks, according to Lonzo. That's why. It's because Blake Corum is a man. It's because the Michigan defense was well more than ready for Ohio State's offense in clutch time. That's why. Not because of J.J. McCarthy. Jim Harbaugh knew exactly what J.J. McCarthy was, and he catered that team to J.J. McCarthy, and it worked out fine. Look at Washington. Washington built around, Kalen DeBoer built around Mike Penix. They gave Mike Penix the offense Mike Penix needed to be successful, and he was. Got him to a daddy. Who'd they lose to? Jim Harbaugh, who did a better job of getting that team around JJ. Great coaching in football. And I don't care if you're in high school or college, upper level or lower level, or the National Football League. The guys that are the coaches that are widely regarded as the best, Nick Saban, Mike Norvell, Dabo Swinney, they build offenses that cater to the quarterback's talents. Now, you still got to have a quarterback that can rise to the moment, that can rise to the occasion. Just because the offense is built to you does not mean that you're going to automatically be successful. If your quarterback's going to go out there and stink the joint up, you have a problem. I go back to DJ Uiagalelei's year as the starter at Clemson. You can tell me if I'm wrong, Clemson fans, but I recall a lot of y'all complaining about the play calling around DJU, complaining around the fact that they were asking DJU to run Trevor Lawrence's offense, and it didn't work. Why? Because the offense catered to Trevor Lawrence, not DJ Uiagalelei. It's not going to work. This is why when DJU went to Oregon State, DJU looked like a Power 5 quarterback. Why? Because Oregon State, Justin Smith, built that offense around DJU, and it worked. I'm going to tell you right now, I'll call this shot. Some of y'all are going to call me crazy. I'm willing to have it. I will make the bet right now. I'll put a beer on it with somebody. Zoe, I'll make the bet right now for a single beer. DJ Uiagalelei is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the Atlantic Coast Conference next year. I'd be willing to bet DJU is in the mix for any quarterback award next year that is not the Heisman. I don't think he's going to be a Heisman finalist.
Yeah, but the Clemson fans wanted him gone because he's a problem. How can he succeed somewhere else?
This is exactly what I'm saying. Because as Clemson fans were telling me during DJU's one season as the starter just down the road, that offense was not built to play to the strengths of DJU. That was the complaint, the play calling. It was not built for DJU.
That was not the entire complaint. There were a bunch of people who just said he was not a good player. He didn't belong on the team. Okay.
That was my complaint. I do not think the offense was catered towards. He goes to Oregon State. The offense is catered towards him. He's killing it. Kyle Shanahan has taken Brock Purdy, a very good game manager. Again, you still have to be able to rise to meet the occasion. Andy Reid could absolutely build a perfect offense around Kenny Pickett, but can Kenny Pickett rise to the moment? He is not so far, which leads me to believe they would look different. Now you make the argument Lamar hasn't risen to the occasion either. That pass into triple coverage to Isaiah Likely was hot garbage. I'm not going to disagree.
Well, again, I mean, if Purdy is just a game manager and nothing more, then why didn't San Francisco go to the Super Bowl last year? When he went down and he got hurt, they were done. That's because he's better than what people are giving him credit for.
Again, I guess I would need to know what people are giving him credit for. Calling him a game, this is the crux of this whole discussion. Calling a guy a game manager is not disrespect.
It is if Cam Newton says it.
Again.
And it's been, that's why when I say Tom Brady is a game manager, you get all upset. If it's not a bad thing, then why do you get all upset when I say that?
When you say
that Tom Brady is a game manager, was a game manager, why do you get upset? You just said that that's not a bad thing. So why does when I say it, it bother you? Because a lot of people think that's a bad thing.
Because I think if you drop 99% of quarterbacks into the role that Brady was in, and I change nothing else. I don't change the coach. I don't change the games, the conference, the weather, the division, or the talent around him. I think 99% of NFL quarterbacks fail in that situation.
Well, it's a good thing Belichick had 1% backups who were able to do just as well when Brady wasn't.
No one
there.
else did. No one else has done that.
Yeah,
in any team anywhere else, no one else has done it.
Again, if it's not a bad thing to say, why are you needing to do what you're doing now?
Here's why. Because at the subconscious level, you're not saying it because you mean it. You're saying it as an insult to Tom Brady.
By the way, I am saying it because I mean it. And it's also an insult to Tom Brady.
There it is.
On top of it. But I am saying it because I mean it. As far as talent goes, he does not stand out above a ton of other people. He's had excellent situations where he's did exactly what Joe Montana, you almost got me doing it, what Joe Montana said.
Joe Montana was a quarterback, you idiot.
What Joe Montana said about Brock Purdy. That's what Tom Brady did. The same thing. What Joe Montana basically said he did. That's what a good quarterback does. They're a game manager. But if I say it about Tom Brady, it bothers you, and it shouldn't.
Because I think that so for the record, and I'm not saying Brock Purdy won't get here. I think there are game managers who elevate into game changer based on what they do. Brock Purdy might be in that group. We will find out. He might be in that
Monday
group.
we might come in and say, hey, he was the difference and the reason why San Francisco won.
If that guy goes Super Bowl MVP and we all come in here and we don't have a fight Monday as to whether or not he really was the MVP, right? Like McCaffrey scores twice, but they give it to the quarterback. If we're not having the fight about it, he definitely was the MVP. Maybe he elevates. But Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning all took game manager and they elevated it to the next level. Because I can think of a lot of quarterbacks I take and I put where Brady was and they fail. They tank miserably. All right, we got to take a break because if we don't, Lonzo's going to start throwing sharp pointing objects at me. When we come back, we'll keep talking Super Bowl. But we'll talk not the quarterbacks. Who else matters? I'll tell you next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, quick live reading. We're coming right back. Y'all stay right there. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and Lonzo with you, talking Super Bowl, which we are allowed to say, by the way.
Because
you missed it.
we're carrying it right here on the Fan Upstate.
We sure are.
Starting at 2 p.m. this Sunday.
You know who else in the hood is carrying the Super Bowl?
Nobody.
Nobody else, man. You all are frankly very welcome for us being, awesome.
So you're heading out to get your wings, or going on a beverage run.
BEERUN.
All you got to do is throw the Fan Upstate. You should tear the knobs off anyway, as they used to say. But we got you covered right here.
What a radio phrase! Rip the knobs off. It's the Fan Upstate.
Does your radio have knobs?
Yeah.
Okay, because
But I mean, it's touchscreen, but they're like the volume knob.
Do you still have the?
And I still have a tuner knob that you can use.
Okay. All right.
But there's also buttons on a screen because
you know what?
24.
I don't remember if I do or not, and I've had that car for 5 years. I don't think I do though.
Did you go like early touchscreen? Do you have a touchscreen in yours?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Everything's touchscreen in there.
Gen 1. Yes. Starting at 2 o'clock.
It's not that old. It's not Gen 1.
4 hours of pregame coverage and the game itself and the postgame, all available for you right here on the Fan Upstate, and big game coverage on the Fan Upstate presented by Solo Stove. Feel the heat of the world's most popular smokeless fire pits, solostove.com. Every time I say that, I hear, feel the heat. All right. I'm not going to do that to you.
Do you know who sang that though?
It was, yes, they have a funny band name.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Yeah.
might be something you want to have if you want electricity, possibly. It's a power station.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you need a power station.
Yeah, I was
for-
running through my head. I'm like, there's a joke there. And I
It's a
don't know
couple
what it is.
members of Duran Duran and that dude who sang songs with all the women that looked alike. Why am I forgetting his name? Anyway,
Is that really Power Station?
Yeah.
I typed it in and I got like Joan Beauvoir.
no,
Who I
it's,
don't know who that
did
is.
you type in the power
Some like
station?
get high and okay,
Yeah.
that's what it's called.
Yeah, and
that's what it's
they
called.
also did a cover of "Get It On Bang and Gong," and Robert Palmer. Thank you, Joey. I don't know why I forgot Robert. I mean, I saw him in his suit and everything in my head, but it's old. I'm old.
And some melt when the heat is on.
I recognize that guitar anywhere as a Duran Duran fan. Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, by the way.
Chris Jones. Is there a chance that a defensive lineman could win a Super Bowl major most valuable player award?
I would think so. If you have multiple sacks and there are fumbles involved, maybe throwing in an interception, a pick six, I think would do it for him, because big guy touchdowns are so amazing and everyone loves them.
I find it really frustrating that a defensive lineman would have to do something that like the best do one time in their entire career, but he's got to do it in the Super Bowl to win the MVP.
Yeah, he'd have to do something offensively. A defensive guy would have to do something that, yeah.
Here's your MVPs going back. Mahomes QB, Kupp wide receiver, Brady QB, Mahomes QB, Edelman wide receiver, Foles quarterback, Brady quarterback, Von Miller, your first defensive player. You have to go back to Super Bowl 50 to find your first defender. Brady, Smith, linebacker, Malcolm Smith for Seattle did it in 48.
So there's been more than what you thought, probably.
There have been two dating back, a decade? So 2 out of 8. So at about a, 20% clip? It's not awful. In those two, Malcolm Smith had an interception for a touchdown and a fumble recovery plus 10 tackles. And Von Miller had 6 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and a deflection. Your last defensive player before that, Ray Lewis. And in looking at ESPN's got a list of all the Super Bowl MVPs.
Who is Ray Lewis as quarterback? See, so I think the quarterback has to play average in order to not. You have to really be average to not win that award.
That would have been, by the way, Trent Dilfer.
Right.
34-7. Dilfer went 12 of 25 for 153 and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's not going to get you the
That's
MVP.
not going to get you the MVP. Between those two defenders, Flacco quarterback, Manning quarterback, Rodgers quarterback, Breeze quarterback, Holmes wide receiver, Manning quarterback, the other Manning quarterback, Hines Ward wide receiver, Deion Branch wide receiver, Tom Brady quarterback, Dexter Jackson was a cornerback for Tampa Bay. In their win, he had 2 interceptions in that game. Brady quarterback, Ray Lewis linebacker, Warner quarterback, Elway quarterback, Terrell Davis running back. Very interesting, Zoe, that we have 3 defensive players since our last running back to win it. He had 30 carries for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Before him, Desmond Howard did it as a specialist. 244 all-purpose yards and a 99 kick return for Green Bay.
He had a pretty good game.
Yeah, he had a real good game. Before him, Larry Brown, cornerback for Dallas, had 2 interceptions in Super Bowl XXX. That's 30. If you don't want to call it Super Bowl XXX, I do want to call it Super Bowl XXX. So you will notice.
Wasn't that a movie with Ice Cube in it?
It is. It is also an entire genre of movies that we can't talk about. I mean, we can talk about them. We just got to be like real careful.
Well, as long as you're tasteful, I suppose.
I am only tasteful. The point here is, if you want to find the last time a defensive lineman won a Super Bowl MVP award, Lonzo, you have to go back to Super Bowl 20 when Richard Dent did it for the Chicago Bears with 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. If there is a guy that could get it done, I think it's got to be Chris Jones, and I think it's got to be this year. Now, there's good defensive linemen in every single one, every single game. But you got to do something special. Now, higher than Chris Jones on the Super Bowl MVP odds, if you want them. BetMGM right now, Patrick Mahomes is your Super Bowl MVP favorite at plus 135. Brock Purdy is plus 230. Christian McCaffrey plus 450. Travis Kelce plus 1,300. Deebo Samuel plus 2,500. Isaiah Pacheco plus 2,800. By the way, I really don't hate Pacheco as a dark horse long shot. Checking in at 28-1.
His first Super Bowl, the potential, the way he runs, the
Pop
fact
off for a $130 and 2 tutties.
When he gets loose, he's surprisingly fast. Yeah.
I might throw a little bit at both McCaffrey and Isaiah Pacheco. I just need one of them to hit. Rashee Rice is 80-1. So is George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk is 50-1. The highest defensive player on the list, great one, is Nick Bosa, who is plus Nicky plus 12,500, 125-1 to win Super Bowl MVP. In fact, BetMGM does not even have Chris Jones listed. And that's very interesting to me because what's more likely? Chris Jones ends up with 3 sacks and a forced fumble against Brock Purdy, or Nick Bosa does it against Patrick Mahomes?
You would say Chris Jones, but Nick Bosa when he's on, and the way the tackles have played for the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm a little scared.
See, I very much lean on Chris Jones having a better day than Nicky. And there's a couple of reasons. Number one is I think Kansas City's defensive backs are better than San Francisco's. There's more talent for San Francisco, but Kansas City's defensive backs overall are better than San Francisco. So is their linebacking core, honestly. It's just a better defense. The way you create chaos for Brock Purdy is you make coverage sacks. Now, real tough to do with McCaffrey, Ayuk. I mean, I don't know. This is probably the 99th time in a week that I've went through the list of San Francisco's skill players. But it is that good of a list. It is good enough of a list that I almost feel compelled every time we talk about it to remind you of exactly who the hell is on it. I think you've got to, and I said this the other day. In fact, on, Monday? I gave you some of my initial keys to the game. I've got more. I'll give them to you as the show rolls on over the next couple of days. But I've given you a couple of thoughts. There was one specific about Brock Purdy that you may or may not remember. I know Monday was a long time ago. And it was this. If Brock Purdy has on average more than 2.5 seconds to throw the football in a clean pocket, the 49ers will win this game. Because while Kansas City is arguably the best defense that the 49ers have come up against in the late portion of the season and in this run that they're on, I would also argue this is the best offense that Kansas City has played with respect to Baltimore. Because Baltimore had Zay, they had a busted up Mark Andrews, and they had Gus Johnson, who the Ravens ran 3 times. I don't think Pacheco's getting 3 carries in this game. He might get 3 carries a quarter at minimum. So, while it is the best defense Brock Purdy's faced off against, I would also make the argument it's the best offense Kansas City's faced off against. So, to me, as good as all the skill position talent is, and I know this is going to sound cliche, stick with me. As good as all the skill position talent is for San Francisco, as good as Patrick and Trav and Isaiah are for KC, this game is won by the offensive and defensive lines of both teams. That scares me a little bit for Kansas City. I don't trust their offensive line. Even upgraded, I don't trust it.
I trust the center.
Right. I trust the interior
And-
offensive line.
and the right
I don't trust
guard.
the
Yeah,
outside.
it's a-
I don't trust the
yeah.
tackles. So this game is going to be won by the offensive and defensive lines on both sides. Specifically, San Francisco's offensive line versus Kansas City's defensive. If Purdy has more than 2.5 seconds to throw on average throughout the course of the game, San Francisco is winning this game. If he has 2.49 seconds or less on average to get rid of the ball, like Bryce Young did this year, San Francisco is going to lose this game. It is down to Chris Jones and co. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour 3 on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
All right, I don't entirely understand this. I don't know if I'm reading this right or not. According to Adam
Yes, it
Schefter,
is sad, by the way, but keep going. The thing you sent me.
Yeah, okay. Regarding Sunday's Super Bowl matchup, CBS Sports Chairman Sean McManus quipped, the NFL has alerted us that for the first time ever, we will have a double overtime game in the Super Bowl.
I find that hilarious.
But what if it happens?
Unless it happens, and then that guy's going to be like, oh, crap. You ever had a joke backfire? I've had jokes backfire.
Then the script thing will be,
I'm not mad at him because I've been making the script jokes all year long.
and so has the NFL.
Right.
But
They made a commercial out of it. Like, I'm not mad at them for it. I can't get this song out of my head now. It's just playing in a loop.
I don't know what song you're talking about. And oh, never mind.
The one that we talked about.
Oh, something like it hot.
And when the heat is on, burn, 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 burn.
I was okay to say it once I realized what song it was. Because that song often goes through my head, so I'm fine. Talking about butt kicker? That's what they call him. I mean, I didn't make that up. That's what Kelsey and those guys call him. I still remember sitting on the hill at Wofford, watching him kick and going, man, this guy's horrible. And then he gets traded to Kansas City from Carolina and has been killing it ever since. He was wide right, wide left. I'm just sitting on the hill behind the goalpost before things got as big as they got before. Now they no longer exist. It's just me and like a couple other people just sitting back there. I'm just watching the balls go on either side of me. I think they had Gano then, and Bucker was just
Old Golden Boots
Bucker
himself.
was a rookie. I really was. No, I can't believe they. No, Kansas City, what are you doing? And now I'm like, man, was I wrong?
He can ball.
But again, if you're sitting out there and you're watching them just missing everything, maybe he was missing on purpose.
He was getting in your head. Yes, he did win the Doink Super Bowl bet for us last year. The single most electrifying moment in sports history. 12 dudes losing their bleeping minds in a room over a doinked tick. Joey B, are we running it back on Sunday? I think we are, right? The doink prop is an all-time winner. All-time great bet. Wrapping up the third hour of the radio broadcast. We continue to talk Super Bowl here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We, of course, are allowed to call it the Super Bowl as we are your home for The big game, TM, aka the Super Bowl, coming up this Sunday. And while we will continue to talk prop bets and exotic prop bets, my favorite thing to talk about around the Super Bowl, the game is secondary to over under on the national anthem and what color Gatorade is the winning coach going to be wearing. Those are our priorities here on the show.
Is there odds like on if there's going to be a streaker or not?
Dude, there's odds on anything.
I seem to recall that being a thing before.
Streaker prop Super Bowl. Let's see who's offering it. Somebody is offering it. I'll have to find it, but yes, there is definitely somebody. There was a story. This was not too long ago. This was within the last handful of years. Great one. There was a guy who made a bet on there being a streaker at the Super Bowl. It was you know what it was? It was let's see. It was Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl you guys played the Buccaneers.
Trying to forget that one. When both tackles got hurt and just knew it was over.
Yep. He placed a $50,000.
Mark Ryan won that day, and it was the last time he ever won. Ever.
A cat by the name of Yuri Andrade. And of course, where the hell else was he going to be from except Florida? Yuri Andrade, Florida man, placed a $50,000 bet.
Andrade like El Idolo?
No, like I'm not putting this guy is an El Idolo for sure.
Okay.
$50,000 bet on odds of plus 750 that there would be a streaker during the Super Bowl. $50K bet down. He bragged, which means he would have made $375,000 if there would be a streaker. And then he streaked. He did it. He's like, I can guarantee there's going to be a streaker in this game. Went plus 750 on a $50K bet. Hit the field in a purple one-piece thong bathing suit. Dropped trowel as he was running away from security across the field and would have picked up $350K, but then he bragged about it. He opened his damn mouth.
See, I don't understand why that. I mean, how do you get in trouble for that? I mean, other than you getting arrested for streaking, how do you not get paid for that?
He was arrested for misdemeanor trespassing for his field invasion, released on $500 bond, and I'm sure probably end up having to do some community service or something. Now, I will tell you, you got to find kind of a unique book to do this. Most books will not take bets that can be easily influenced by outsiders, right? They will not take bets that, because obviously you have a situation like this where a guy puts a $50K bet down that somebody's going to drop trow and go full moons over Miami on the field at a Super Bowl. They drop $50K and then they just do that. And that bet is technically a winner. So most bets won't take that. But he, according to the story I'm reading at casino.org, apparently he did find somebody to take that bet, took to the field, made it happen, started bragging, and then the book was like, yeah, no, dude, that's not how this works.
I don't know how they can go back on that, though. I mean, where do you write the stipulations that
the
say...
same place, I assume, that a quarterback making a bet that there's going to be a pick and then throwing a pick would get walked back. It's rigging the book. And most books absolutely are going to have a clause in there somewhere that says we reserve the right to kick back any bet we don't like. Any bet we don't like for any reason that is not connected to we lost.
Yeah, well, we're not going to pay that bet because we didn't think that would happen.
I don't know if it's we didn't think it was going to happen so much as it wouldn't happen except for you made it happen.
By the way, what he did was wrong, and he tried to game the system. I just don't see why he didn't succeed.
What he did, for the record, was freaking hilarious.
Well, and kind of wrong. I mean, going naked in front of a lot of children and things like that.
He wasn't naked. He had a thong on.
You say he took it off.
He dropped trout. He had a one-piece, like a Borat Mankini kind of thing on. I don't think he went full boys out on it.
That's not really a streaker then.
I think we've commonly accepted it.
You got to be full Monty if you are indeed a legitimate streaker. So from that standpoint, I think they could have not paid him because he wasn't in the entire birthday suit.
Coward.
Coward.
If you're gonna do it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna go through all that, you might as well go all the way.
If you're gonna do it, you coward. Hey, Lonzo, do it.
Wow. And yeah, that counts because you just called me a coward. Now we're tied 2-2. I ain't scared. The first game as a ranked team resulted in their first win as a ranked team when the South Carolina Gamecocks put away Ole Miss last night, 68-65. Colin Murray Boyles led South Carolina with 16, and Talon Cooper added 12. The Gamecocks shot 47% from the floor. Yesterday, Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney were on the same page. The South Carolina and Clemson football coaches joined forces along with Coastal Carolina coach Tim Beck at the State House in Columbia to encourage state lawmakers to pass legislation allowing their schools to directly compensate athletes. We are your exclusive home for the Super Bowl in the Upstate. Coverage starts at 2 p.m. Sunday as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the San Francisco 49ers. The Super Bowl plays here on the Fan Upstate. And make sure you tune in tonight as Furman takes on Mercer.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
He did, Steven. He shocked me into not turning my mic on, and then, it threw off my rhythm. But that's fine. I probably deserve it.
Santa Fe for your chance to win. This epic getaway is made possible by the all-new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe, equipped for adventure. Check out Hart's tour lineup at heart-music.com.
But it's not the money you spend, the elaborate lengths you go to.
Happy Valentine's Day.
It just has to come from the heart. Ingles, we're with you every step of the way.
Kelly Blue Book is the one-stop shop for pricing, fixing, selling.
Oh, baby.
Instant cash offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car. Just enter your VIN.
The Wasted Management Open, the best golf tournament of the year. It's second to none. The Masters goes behind the Waste Management.
Hey everyone, it's Joe Montana. Spreading the word about pneumococcal pneumonia, a potentially serious bacterial lung disease that can be life-threatening. If you're 65 or older like me, you're at increased risk. So, what's the game plan? A strong defense.
Pneumococcal pneumonia can strike at any time in any season, so you shouldn't wait to help protect yourself. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccination today and learn more at knowpneumonia.com. That's KNOW pneumonia.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer. Now, CBS Sports Radio.
On the radio at 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg.
You need more?
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say, play The Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3.
Just one more time.
And on your computer at
FanUpstate.com.
Upstate.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3, the official sports voice of the Upstate Fan. CBS Sports always live on the field.
Hey, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Only on The Fan.
Good morning.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
The second clip's so good, though. So good, though. Groovy. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The final hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This, friends, is the Fan Upstate. How do you do? Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. What's up, world? It is great to be with you.
I'm talking to America here.
Spectacular Wednesday morning as we crest the midweek spot. It is Super Bowl week.
Wait. Did you say we just crested the midweek spot?
I said as we crest the midweek spot, but yes.
That was very poetic.
Thank you. I am a haughty intellectual. I use big words.
Those were not big. I mean, that was very philosophical. It was very enlightening and very positive.
I am nothing if not an absolute ray of sunshine. Lonzo, you know that.
Nope.
Just beaming with, radiating with happiness, enjoyment, pleasure at all moments.
You didn't say that. Tell me you did not just say that.
Sure did, Booker. Sure did. Will again. We have got some more stuff that we need to get into on the radio broadcast today. And if you would like to be a part of any of these conversations, now's a wonderful time to do it. 844-326-3663 is the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone.
I'm about to retire some things. I don't want to go beyond one page. So some of my sounds are going to go bye-bye. I've got one open slot. So I think like Tyler, he's done because Tyler had his run. And
Tyler from Spartanburg?
Yeah, we're not gonna need.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I thought his 15 minutes were up. They weren't. He caught a mention during the Clemson Carolina game last night.
Did he really?
He sure did. They got down to the end of the game inside of like 18 seconds. UNC at this point goes down back by 6. They're just out of time. And it was Reese Davis, I think, was on the call last night. Get inside of 10 seconds, and Reese said, even Tyler from Spartanburg is going to be happy tonight. Tyler from Spartanburg is still getting play months later.
We don't even know if Tyler cares about basketball.
According to you, he doesn't. He's a Clemson fan.
Right. That's the reason why I was questioning that.
Tyler from the Berg still getting run on the 4-letter. And why wouldn't you, man? It's Tyler! Mike killed it. Mike killed it.
One last time. Then he's going bye-bye.
Love that dude. Love that dude.
I don't. He helped them turn the season around.
He sure did. Tyler from Spartanburg should get a banner in the stadium, right? Fixed it. Tyler from Spartanburg fixed the Clemson football program. It was the next week that Dab said, if Clemson's a stock, you better buy right now.
It's a work.
Tyler from
It's always
the
been
Berg.
a work.
All right, let's talk some college football here. Let's talk some college athletics here for just a minute. The SEC and the Big Ten They're buddies now. You know that GIF from the Predator movie where Carl Weathers and Arnold do
man, too soon. Too soon.
Yeah, rip to a legend, by the way. He passed on what, on Friday, I think?
Yeah,
after we went off the air?
It was Friday, yeah.
Rip to a legend, old Carl. What do you mean too soon? That is one of like 9 go-to gifts.
You ever wonder how many takes that took? Was that a one taker right there?
No, dude, it's Arnold and Carl. They knocked that out. They didn't even need a take.
You got to have just the right flex so you're not one up in the other guy, though. Yeah.
It is. If you are,
we should start the show that way every day.
If you are in the inner circle of Rob Brown, if you are one of the people that I actually text back, and it's day to day, if we're being honest.
Wow.
But if you're one of the people,
that's hurtful, man. That's God.
I text you back.
No, you don't.
I texted you back like 3 times this weekend.
Yeah, it was the next day.
About wrestling.
It was the next day.
It still counts. It was a text back.
Okay.
If you are in the Rob Brown inner circle of people, I actually text back. And by the way, don't feel bad. I regularly forget to text my mother back.
Because she's like me, is not in your inner circle,
She is in
apparently.
the inner circle. You're in the inner circle. The inner circle is any text back at all. If you're in the inner circle that receives text back from one Rob Brown, you know that this is not exaggerating, about 75% of the response text I send are in GIF form. I communicate via GIF.
I still have never used one.
I'm a big GIF guy.
On purpose, because everyone else does. And it's not being a contrarian, it's being different.
I'm a big GIF reaction guy. I like the GIF. And I've got a library of go-to GIFs that I use.
Is there like a certain site you go to or something?
Nope.
Or you save it on your phone?
The Pixel, literally, you type in what you're looking for, and it gives you, it just pulls up a selection.
I'm guessing it probably does that in any phone, but you're trying to get an ad deal. I don't blame you.
I mean, I'll take it if they want to give me one. Google Pixel. I'm a member, have been for a while. I'm in the club. One of the library of go-to gifts for Rob Brown is the scene between Carl and Arnold in Predator when they do the super bro hand clasp, followed by, and now we flex, right? It's a great gift. It's a great gift. It's a very useful gift, very utilitarian gift. Anytime that somebody says something you agree with, that's what I'm hitting you back with. The SEC and the Big Ten are that gift now. That's them. Arnold playing the role of the Big Ten, Carl playing the role of the SEC. Just a uber bro bicep flex hand grasp.
One of them's walking into the party. The other one's already there. They're walking past the ACC. They do that, and then they go, there he is.
There he is.
And not talking about the ACC because, like I said, they walk past them.
Hey, ACC.
Go outside, nerd.
That's the SEC and the Big Ten right now. But somebody asked me yesterday, and I realized we didn't even really get to this. I was having a conversation yesterday afternoon about life and politics and philosophy and, of course, sports.
With the bug guy.
With the bug guy. And in having this conversation with the bug guy, it was not with the bug guy. And having this guy, bug guy was out of his window. I was like, your window's closed. You got to go. That's not true. I'm not a jerk. I don't have that in me.
Could you go a little bit faster? I need you out.
Keep spraying, bug boy. That's not true. That's really Reed. He was a super, super nice guy, and I was very appreciative of it. He went above and beyond in the bug execution process, and I appreciated that.
Way to go, killer.
He nailed it. Love this guy. This guy is 100% in my inner circle of bug guys now. So, after it was all over, the lady friend and I, she got home. We did our weekly Costco run because we're Costco guys now. Then we got back to the house, and I'm watching basketball, and I got a couple of the fellas that we text. We text about the gambling and the picks we've made that day. We text about life. We vent our issues together. You know, we save the world, one text at a time. And these are buddies of mine from down in Florida. One of them a Gator, two of them Knowles, one of them a UCF Golden Knight 2017 national champions fan.
Stop it.
Never. And they, of course, were ganging up on my Florida fan buddy about this conglomeration, this meeting of the mega powers, brother, between the SEC and the Big Ten. And one of them, my buddy Mike, texted me the side, and he goes, "Hey, dude, what actually is this? Like, what actually is the goal of this?" And I came to the realization that
end of the world.
We haven't really talked about it. We haven't really discussed it so far. We haven't really broken that down. And I think part of the reason why is because they haven't really said it. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, I almost said Big Ten, but that's Pony Petitia. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, said the other day when the NCAA was out there talking about investigating Tennessee, and why wouldn't he? He's going to protect his investment, of course. Said that the NCAA needs to be focusing on the bigger picture. They need to be looking at the bigger picture. They need to be dealing with stuff away from the minutia. It's like, yeah, dude, that's kind of their thing, is the day-to-day operations of big-time college athletics. At least it is right now.
America.
So I was very curious as to what direction this was going to go in. And I started looking around and reading up on some of the comments of different college football talking heads in the know. And it seems to be that the common thought right now is that this SEC Big Ten, Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger bicep flexing hand grasp is being done effectively to put a power player in as the NCAA is being attacked by lawsuits right now. You've got attorneys general or attorney generals. I'm going to say attorneys general.
Yeah, I believe it's attorneys general.
I think that is correct. Yeah. Attorneys general levying lawsuits. You got former athletes levying lawsuits. You've got all sorts of lawsuits flying at the direction of the NCAA to the tune of billions, potentially, of dollars going on. You've got video game rulings over here and CTE rulings over here and NIL rulings over here and coaches complaining about the transfer portal and yada, 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 yada. The NCAA has a lot of litigation on its plate right now. On top of that, you got Charlie Baker and his Project D1 proposal out there. You've got repeated and constant hearings in front of the United States Congress. There's a lot going on. And so while the NCAA has its attention split in about 90 different directions right now, at minimum, the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference have basically said, that don't touch us. That don't bother us. And the NCAA has so much heat on it right now that there are some people out there predicting, prognosticating even, and I do not think accurately, though I do think they're not far off the mark, that the NCAA could be on the hook for so much money that they can't exist anymore. There's just too much liability. And even if they do, who the hell's going to want to take over a position of power inside of that organization when they are constantly getting their pants suit off, metaphorically speaking, of course. So if you are two power playing entities like the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference that are not necessarily going to be subject to that, but you also want to make sure that there is an environment available to you out there should the NCAA ultimately fall, why not lean on each other? Why not just create a new entity? Why not just create this new entity that puts you in a spot that should the NCAA see the worst happen, you just go, okay, well, we're our own thing now. We're just our own thing now. We don't need y'all. Y'all don't need us. We're just going to do our own thing. And I think that's pretty much it. It basically is a way to protect themselves should it get to the point that the NCAA has so much liability out there that if it ends up subject to potential dismemberment, again, metaphorically speaking, the Big Ten and the SEC are safe because the Big Ten's got enough money that it could survive on its own. The SEC's got enough money that it could survive on its own. In fact, I would be, I don't want to say shocked, but a little surprised if any time in the near future you see this advisory group, as they are calling it, actually advise anything. Do you think they're going to be calling up the NCAA going, hey, Charlie, here's what we think you should do in order to position yourself? No, they're not going to do that. They're basically just forming a Survivor-style alliance, in my opinion. This is basically a spot where the Big Ten and the SEC can sit together and go, hey, if the NCAA goes down, I think this is what we should do. If this happens, I think this is what we should do. If they say this, this is how we'll respond. If they do this, this is how we'll respond. It is basically an opportunity for the two biggest power players, and yes, I do believe they are bigger power players, both of these conferences now, than the NCAA itself. This is an opportunity for these two power players to go ahead and draw up the blueprint of what happens next should X or Y or Z happen. If the NCAA loses an antitrust lawsuit, of which they face many, primarily the one being brought forward by Florida State and one by Tennessee legislators right now. If they lose either one of those, then the floor gets open for other organizations to step in to the vacuum around the NCAA right now. Well, if another organization is going to step in and the NCAA has lost power at the same time, why not the organization comprised of the two biggest and most powerful entities in college football today, the SEC and the Big Ten? It kind of makes sense. So the reason that I think you are not currently seeing a ton of discussion about what this advisory group is actually going to do is because they're not putting anything out there. Here's how ESPN described it. Quote, this joint advisory group announced last week between the Big Ten and the SEC should be viewed more as a bellwether for where college sports are going and the desire of SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti to be proactive. It will be a consultant for the two leagues, but won't have the authority to implement change. That's it. It is a group of people connected to college sports in the know that are going to sit around and draw up plans. They are going to sit around and draw up plans about if X, then Y. If A, then B. If the NCAA loses this lawsuit, this is how we'll respond. If they win that lawsuit, this is how we'll respond. You're not going to see a lot out of this right now. It's not a breakaway from the NCAA. It's not the establishment of a new organization. It's none of those things. It is very simply a group of people who are going to sit in a room with pads and pens, and they're just going to write out, this could potentially happen, and if it does, we'll respond this way. And this could happen, and we'll respond this way. And if both those things happen, we'll respond this way. That's all it is. You're not going to hear a lot out of it, and there's not a lot of reason to panic right now because they are not going to utilize this to make any moves. They're not going to utilize this to make any moves. They're just drawing up plans. And to me, that's it. Now, it should scare fans of teams of smaller schools. It should scare members of the ACC. It should scare members of the Big 12. It should scare members of the dying and rotting corpse of the Pac-12. It should scare the hell out of teams in the MAC and the WAC and the Big Sky and the Mountain West and the AAC. Should scare the hell out of you because I promise you, they don't care about what happens to you. They don't. They're not going to make moves that are beneficial to you unless they're beneficial to them as well. but they're not in a spot yet where they can start making changes. They're in a spot where they just draw up plans. I think that's it. So is it interesting? Yes. Is it important? Yes. Is it something that we need to focus on? It's definitely something to keep your eye turned towards, something to pay attention to. Is it going to change anything yet? No. They are, as I'm sure a lot of folks are, just waiting and watching. The difference is they have a vested interest in themselves and their members and nobody else. So when the next gigantic news breaks, like another Dartmouth ruling or whatever, if another ruling comes out, those two conferences are ahead of the curve and they have the financial resources behind them to make something happen should they require it. That's all this is. That's all it is right now. Is that going to change in the future? Very good chance that it does, but it hasn't yet. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, what do you say we dive back into a few more exotic prop bets for the Super Bowl? Why? Because they're fun and I want to. Because they're fun and I want to. That's why. No other reason. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
Here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Sunny skies today, high 59. Night will see a low 33. Thursday, sunny high around 58. Friday, cloudy high 60. A chance for rain for the weekend. Our meteorologist, Jennifer Wojcicki on the Fan Upstate. Currently, it's 38.
And now for Ryan's Morning Sports Spin, powered by Ingles. Low prices, love this.
All right, guys, going to step away for just a minute. Be right back.
With Progressive and get protection round the clock. Round the clock? Does this generation even understand what round the clock means? But don't come, I'm just saying, because don't come to me when they ask for to do this over, because the kids won't get it.
Get round-the-clock protection when you bundle and save with Progressive. It's easier.
That's a good commercial. I like that commercial.
Insurance company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different. Are you really that different than the rest of us? We are. As a fiduciary, we owe.
And more proof that I'm a plague bearer, I'm starting to get a fever blister.
Oh, good. Super.
Specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe.
Gotta get better before Saturday for the sale. So I'm not,
Barred from the bar.
well, no, I'll have to fake like I can move well.
So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow.
So I don't hear, are you all right? Are you okay? No, leave me alone.
Clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Timmy, everybody, straight up. Let's go have some Nanda.
10 times better performance can make a big difference. Castrol Edge motor oil gives your engine 10 times better high temperature performance. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. Now through March 4th, get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge or Edge high mileage full synthetic and an oil filter for $36.99 only at AutoZone.
Claim based on sequence 3 H test versus API SP test limits.
There's nothing worse than coming home from a cold day to find out that your heater isn't working. When this happens, you need an HVAC company you can trust. A company like Priority Heating and Air. Their HVAC specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. So keep your family or business warm this winter and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1847 or online at PriorityHeatingandAirHVAC.com.
Unleash your inner Viking with the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe, and you could win tickets to Norway to see Heart live and tons of rock. You and 3 friends.
I don't hear Viking and Santa Fe at the same time, you know?
$500 gift card and more. Enter now at Odyssey.
I do want to go to Norway, though.
For your chance to win. This epic getaway is made possible by the all-new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe.
I'll just play Skyrim. It's basically Norway.
Valhalla is in Norway.
Yeah, all that stuff is,
I started bumping into the Zealots. I kind of hate those guys a lot.
Have you fought any mini bosses yet?
Just the Zealots.
Witches, I think they are.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. I am Rob. He is Alonzo. We have been all over the map today. We've talked some college sports, some college basketball, good wins for the Gamecocks, good win for the Tigers last night. And it has been an interesting basketball season, to say the least. South Carolina inside the top 15. They defend this house. They do it again this Saturday against Vanderbilt. And then on the road, should they beat Vanderbilt and keep that ranking next Wednesday, they are on the road at Auburn. Opelika, Alabama, to take on the Auburn War Eagle Tigers in a top 15 Southeastern Conference matchup. I will tell you right now, I think South Carolina's in the tournament. Unless they just suffer catastrophe, they are in. Clemson is not yet in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion. Clemson is a bubble team right now. Now, there is plenty of room for Clemson's to still fight their way in at this point. There are some games that still matter to Clemson. They've got FSU on the schedule still. They've got 2 against Cuse right now. The bad news is, outside of, say, I don't know, maybe Wake Forest, who is 7-4 in the ACC, there's not a lot of quality wins left for Clemson. I do think if you are able to go with I think 8 games left on the schedule, I think if Clemson's able to go, say, 6-2 down the stretch they're in, I think it would help, obviously, to give a hell of a run in the ACC tournament, play like you did last night, and you certainly can. I would say Clemson right now is on the bubble, but it's a firm bubble. Like, you're probably in, but I would like to see a good, strong run through the rest of the season. Zach is saying Clemson projected as a 7 or 8 seed, according to the March Madness Twitter account. And again, that is projection. That is working on the assumption that Clemson performs higher than average down the rest of the stretch. The problem is, much as it was for South Carolina in the early portion of the season, Clemson's got the opposite. South Carolina had a real coast schedule early. They had to prove themselves, whereas Clemson had a real tough conference schedule early, but it's kind of let up on them a little bit. Miami's still a good team. They've been playing down. Georgia Tech went 1 for 23 to open up the game last night, and that's not making a joke. That's literally what they did. So I think they're on the bubble, but I think it's a very firm bubble. I think they are towards the top end of the bubble teams right now, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. All right, let's take a look at some Super Bowl props. You know, I was talking about the exotic props. I don't want to get there. But so let's look at some of the actual numbers. What do you say? We did exotic props yesterday. We got a couple more days left to go. Let's look at some of the actual lines for this game on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes' passing yardage number right now, Zoe said at 262.5. He's been throwing around 262, 263 on average. They are predicting Patrick Mahomes' number to be right in the neighborhood of an average back half of the season game for Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to tell you, I like the under. I like the under because I think you're leaning on Isaiah Pacheco. I think you're leaning on Isaiah Pacheco to back the defensive line and back the linebackers up. You're trying to get Nicky and the rest of the boys on the San Francisco defensive line not to go full bull rush. The only question for me here is there one of those 65, 70, 75-yard touchdowns in Mahomes to Rice somewhere? We haven't really seen Kansas City taking deep ball shots. So I'm not worried about a big 80-yard chunk somewhere that kind of dings up against the over. I think you see a hefty run schedule for Pacheco and the gang. I think you're going to see a lot of short yardage passes for Mahomes. I like Mahomes to have a high accuracy number, but a low yardage count. Give me the under at -110.
See, I agree with you, but we have said that one of the keys would be for them to control the ball for long periods of time. In order to do that, those chunks have to be not only the running game, but as you just pointed out, short passes, but those can turn into more, and those will start accumulating through the entire game if they do them all, if they continue to do it and don't have to come from behind. So I'm going to say over, only slightly, but over.
Over the 262.5 goes the great one. Passing touchdowns for Mahomes, set at 1.5. I do like the over in this. I like the over on passing touchdowns. I think once Mahomes gets down into the red zone, by the way, not only do I like it, but I like the Kelsey over 0.5 touchdown prop. I think he is absolutely scoring an anytime touchdown. I think Mahomes gets probably 2. The over in this one is currently set at -140. So a little juice there for Vegas. The under 1.5 is at +114. So Vegas thinks Mahomes is throwing a couple of tutties here.
Well, they haven't blown anybody out, really. They win by very little, but still win. But he got to go over that.
Here's an interesting number. Mahomes pass completions, 25.5. What's interesting is the plus money bet is on the over. 26 or more completions is at +104. Under is 25.5. And even at -128, I'm probably going to look at playing the under for exactly the same reason that I'm looking at the under on passing yardage. I think Kansas City is a run-first team this Sunday.
Agreed. But like I was just saying, if they're going to if Patrick Mahomes is going to go over on the amount, then I got to go over on this too.
So here's the thing. I'm curious as to how you think, and I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm curious as to your thought on how this offense looks on Sunday. How is Kansas City a run-first team? If Mahomes is going to get 26 completions, he's throwing the ball minimum 32, 33 times. How are they run first, but he's going to throw the ball 30-plus times? I can't see both. I think you got to lean one to the other.
See, I can definitely see both. And also there are pop passes, which are basically handoffs. I mean, there are a lot of things. But yeah, I can see that.
Okay. We'll come back to this on Monday. Let's go with
if you go on 4 yards a pop to get a first down, that's what, three of those, and if one of those is a run and two of those is a pass.
But then that's pass first offense. That's not a run first offense. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm taking the over props on Pacheco, which means I'm playing the under props on Mahomes. And
you know what's going to happen. We're doing all this. Vegas is doing all this. It's going to be an aerial show Sunday. This is going to be like 60-yard bombs thrown from both sides, and that's what it's going to be.
Pass attempts for Mahomes. The over-under is set at 36.5 attempts. I will take the under. And I feel comfortable with the under, by the way.
See, I have to be consistent. I got to take the over, don't I?
You do, but again, I think the more that you say, correct, in a betting strategy, you're playing the betting strategy right.
Right. Once you start going a certain direction, yeah,
I agree. It's a betting strategy, but I do think you have to stop saying this is going to be a run first offense for Kansas City. If Mahomes is getting the over and he's throwing the ball 37 times, you're talking about an offense, if they control most of the game, is running 55 to 65 plays.
What if they score 52 points?
Then Patrick Mahomes ain't throwing the ball 37 times. I mean, if he's going to get that many, you're going to hit a point in the third quarter where you're running the ball just to kill the clock. To me, the best bet for Mahomes to hit the over here is if we get to the fourth quarter of the game and it is a 24-22 game.
See, I'm just thinking defense getting the ball, Purdy turning it over, defense getting the ball, and them getting a couple extra possessions on offense on that end of the field.
I mean, listen, if you're banking on a couple of San Francisco turnovers, then you're playing this the right way.
Shouldn't you, though?
Sure.
I mean,
I'm not.
This defense is pretty good for Kansas City.
This is also the best offense you've played so far. And it's not particularly close in my
True.
opinion.
True.
Longest completion for Patrick Mahomes, over under 36.5 yards. Will he have a bomb for 37 or more? I'll tell you what's going to win this. It is not a deep ball from Mahomes. It's Rashee Rice getting the ball in space and a yak daddy kind of run. This is not, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to complete a ball that travels in the air 37 yards. I do think he can hit an 11-yard crossing pattern. Rashee shakes somebody and goes 37.
Valdez-Scantling has, the last couple games, got like one or two of those.
That's fair too. This could be, honestly, this could cash in like the last 2 minutes of the game, right? Interceptions, Mahomes, over under 0.5. Will he throw a pick? It is minus 115 for a yes, minus 105 for a no.
See, my only concern for that, I mean, he's been on fire and he's been extremely accurate the last, 6 weeks or something of the season. It would be a tip ball or something like that, or receiver reverting back to what they were doing earlier in the season and the ball being in their hands and popping out into a defender.
Sure.
That's a hard bet to take.
Like number one receiver, Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Rushing yards for Patrick Mahomes, over under 25.5. Will he get to 26 rushing yards? I'm going to say no.
I was going to say, if he does, it'll be like with one run.
I don't even think that's going to be there. I'm going to say no to
his awkward looking running style.
The thing, if Mahomes was playing with the skill position talent of the 49ers, I would take this bet. For the same reason I will take this bet for Brock Purdy. I will bet Brock Purdy's over rushing yards. I will not do it for Mahomes, because if I'm San Francisco, I'm not afraid of the skill position talent outside of Kelsey, who I will double team and bracket, and Rashee Rice. I'm not afraid of anybody else. I'm not afraid of MVS until I start getting toasted. I'm playing a base against Kansas City, and I'm spying on Mahomes to keep him from getting out of the pocket.
Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire both can catch the ball out of the backfield.
I agree. I'm treating them like regular running backs until they prove to me that they are not. That's how I'm running. Mahomes is not running on me, certainly not for 26 yards, until everybody else starts beating me. And then we'll have a conversation about it. Rushing attempts for Patrick Mahomes, over under 4.5. The over is minus 122. The under is even money. Pick them. I'll go over for this. I think there will be scrambles involved. I think with that San Francisco defensive line, I think he's absolutely going to have to get outside of the pocket. Will Mahomes' longest rush be over or under 12.5 yards? Absolutely the under for me. Absolutely the under for exactly what I said. I'm base defensing this guy. One of my linebackers is locked on 15. If that dude looks like he's getting to the line of scrimmage, I want murder in your eyes. End his day. Not like Sean Payton style. Just like go hit that guy real hard. I want Patrick Mahomes afraid of the line of scrimmage. If I'm San Francisco, I'm going to go under 12.5 on that.
All right, just looked it up because I was curious. Patrick Mahomes rushed for an average of 24.3 yards per game in 2023.
Which would be the under. Which would be the under on the rushing yardage. Pass plus rushing yards, 292.5. I went the under on the rush. I went the under on the pass. I'm going to go under on the total. Will Patrick Mahomes have the most passing yards in this game? More than Brock Purdy. He is minus 158. So they think Mahomes is going to have the bigger day through the air. I'm going to tell you right now, I actually don't have an issue with taking Brock Purdy here. You're going to get him at plus money. You're probably going to get him in the neighborhood of like plus 130, plus 125, something like that. I might go Brock Purdy because this is not to a guy. This is just in general. And if San Francisco is trying to chase down Kansas City late, as a bunch of us think they will be, like they did against Detroit, they got to go to the air. I think Brock Purdy absolutely could end this game with more passing yards. Doesn't mean they'll win, just that he could. Here's your trends. Patrick Mahomes, under 24.5 completions in 3 of his last 4 playoff games. Over 36.5 passing attempts in 8 of his last 11 playoff games. Under 262 passing yards in 4 straight playoff games. The 49ers allowed 260 passing yards or fewer in 5 straight playoff games. There's another reason to go with the under. Over 1.5 touchdowns in 7 of his last 9 playoff games, but under 1.5 passing touchdowns in 4 of his last 5 games overall. Over 25.5 rushing yards, Lonzo, in all 3 Super Bowl appearances. In the Super Bowl, he's averaging 35 rush yards a game. That's an interesting number. That might be a sway. And 6 straight playoff games without an interception. 6 straight regular playoff games without an INT. But he has 4 INTs in 3 Super Bowls. I'm absolutely playing a Patrick Mahomes interception prop, without a doubt. Tomorrow we'll look at Brock Purdy's numbers because they're pretty interesting as well. And some of them I very much like. So we'll talk about those tomorrow. We have to run to our final break of the show. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, we ask what the X is going on, and then we go home. It's real simple. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This, my friends, is the Fan Upstate.
Upset the number 3 Tar Heels 80-76 on Tuesday. The Tigers took a 43-34 lead into the half and then outlasted the Tar Heels despite being outscored by 5 points in the second. PJ Hall had 25 points in the win for Clem City. Had 6 rebounds. Armando Bacot with 24 points and 13 boards for the Tar Heels. They dropped to 10-2 in the ACC. Number 15 South Carolina beat Ole Miss 68-65. The Gamecocks are
KC will have some special teams guy go for 25 yards late in the 4th. That'll be where MVS gets his prop. He'll do one more of those weird. He hasn't been there all game, and then suddenly he makes a David Tyree catch for the lulls.
When my daughter gets a cold, I have a secret weapon. Dayquil Kids Berry Thinfix. Dayquil Kids is specially formulated to treat kids' most bothersome cold and cause symptoms quickly. And the best part is that Dayquil Kids Berry tastes really great. Aren't you supposed to be resting, baby?
Dayquil Kids Berry. The kids' very delicious daytime congestion, coughing, stuffy head, stuffy nose, just for kids. Medicine. Safe for kids listening to class.
Why does Norway have barcodes on the side of their naval ships? So they can Scandinavian. That is a wonderful joke. A fantastic joke.
All right, this is a short break, so we're coming back for a while before.
Okay. I know it's horrible. That's why it's so damn good.
It was so bad.
So they can Scandinavian.
You know, there are some people out there who could have told that joke badly. You are not one of those.
No, I'm not.
It's all about delivery.
Too easy. Too easy. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob, the great Malonzo, on the other side of the metaphorical glass. Should you wish to be a part of the radio broadcast, we got a few minutes for you here to jump in to beat the buzzer on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663. That is 844-FANFONE. You may go ahead and tweet the show at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo Onward. You can also text us on the text line at 71307-71307. Did you see the story about the mayor of Las Vegas? This was real interesting. The sports world currently descending upon Sin City. There's also another entity descending upon Sin City. That is the artist formerly known as the Oakland Athletics. Within the next few years, they will slowly become the Las Vegas, I assume, Athletics. I can't imagine they're going to rebrand one of the most classic names in Major League Baseball history. But this is interesting. The mayor of Las Vegas is a young lady by the name of Carolyn Goodman. Carolyn Goodman, 6 days before the city was expected to host the Super Bowl, will host the Super Bowl. Can't imagine that changes now. It's a little late in the game. 6 days before, she did an interview with Front Office Sports, and there was a quote that went viral. She said, and I quote on the Front Office Sports interview, "I lived in this town 60 years, and so I know the town like the back of my hand. I personally think they've got to find a way to stay in Oakland and make their dream come true," end quote. Wow. That's real interesting. So the mayor of Vegas, a town that at least on its surface would stand to gain by having a Major League Baseball team come there. Why do I know that? Because they're going to. The ownership, and I would very much love to change the second word of that statement, of the Oakland Athletics, would not move this team to Las Vegas if it wasn't financially rewarding. The Major League Baseball owners would not allow them to move this team to Las Vegas if there wasn't money in it. The NFL is already in Las Vegas. I'm going to go ahead and spoiler alert you now. The NBA is going to have an expansion in the next couple of years, and one of those teams will be in Las Vegas. The WNBA is already there, and now Major League Baseball will gain as well. The mayor came out and said that they should try to find a way to stay in Oakland. Now, she did try to walk that statement back by saying, well, let me tell you what I actually meant. I actually meant that the ownership really wants to stay in Oakland, and I just feel like they should work harder to make that happen. No, I'm going to tell you what I think. Deck and I had this text conversation the other day. Tell you what I actually think. What I actually think is she's looking at the ownership group of the Oakland Athletics and realizes they suck. They suck. They screwed Oakland. They screwed the fans of Oakland. They screwed everybody that has been an A's fan for the 5 generations that Oakland's been the home of the A's. And she absolutely wants a team, just not that one.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to ask Rob what the X is going on, and he will regale us with all the things that he knows. The first thing that is Xing is Blazing Saddles.
50 years old today. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it holds up. It's still hysterically funny, no matter how many times you've seen it. And I would say, because you're going to see this on social media a lot today, you can't make a movie like Blazing Saddles anymore. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. Mel Brooks is still making movies like Blazing Saddles right now. You can still make movies like that. The problem is it is our fault, America, have defaulted to lazy comedy. We have defaulted to bad comedy. Blazing Saddles wasn't good because it was silly and slapstick. It was good because the comedy was good. It was deep. It was thoughtful.
There was silly and slapstick in there
100%.
also.
I'm not saying it can't be a part of it. But the concept of what made Blazing Saddles, or at least the story within Blazing Saddles, was deep, was actually a really good reflection on society outside of that movie as a whole, told in a way that Gene Wilder and co. made absolutely hysterical. You can make a Blazing Saddles today. It's just we don't prop up movies like that. We just want our 19th reboot of Batman again.
I don't know. PETA would be very upset when Mongo hit a horse.
Somebody needs to go back and get a whole load of dimes. What a classic. What a classic, man.
Yeah, but this is my shooting hand. The next thing that's Xing is, and I don't know if you knew this, today is National Signing Day.
It is National Signing Day. And I would like to point out
this is the first time, I think, that it was mentioned on the show today.
It is. And let me tell you why. Because the overwhelming majority of kids have already told us. I got to tell you, there's a part of me that does not particularly care. And then there's another part of me that kind of hates that we've lost the novelty of National Signing Day.
You feel? I don't. You know what? I don't feel bad at all for recruiting people. Recruiting people, that's their whole life, and it's to the point where it's annoying. I mean, I'm glad you're into that, math nerd, but I mean, not everyone's into that like you are, and don't look down on me because I'm not.
Go outside, nerd.
It's just those guys have had to take a step back, and they're probably not really happy about that.
Look, I don't.
If you're excited about this day, then hopefully you're actually signing on this day.
Listen, I am fine. If you don't understand that recruiting is to this day, the lifeblood of college football.
Well, Joe says on the stream, half of Clemson's 2024 class has already been in class on campus for a month.
It's not even National Signing Day. The only thing these guys are signing is their names to the top of the projects they're turning in because they're already in class. By the way, if you want the recruiting news right now, you're not talking about the 2024 class. You're talking about the 2025 class. That's where we are in the recruiting cycle. We are now a year and a month ahead.
And then once you get to 2025, people will forget about that. It's just
because it's on to 2026.
Yeah, it's
absolutely. That's just where it is. So I will absolutely acknowledge and agree that I do kind of miss National Signing Day being a nice little oasis of college football amongst the barren wilderness that is the offseason. I do miss the novelty of it a little bit.
I enjoyed back in the day being able to break news on signings. I mean, that was about it, but I like hearing me. Yeah. So this is only about me. It's not really about,
I very much miss the novelty and the enjoyment and the excitement that came on signing day and popping onto a random website stream on MySpace of some kid picking a hat off the table. I do kind of miss that novelty a little bit, but as I've said, as we've pointed out, we are way past that, dudes. Like, we're on the 2025 class now. And the fact that we have made that some kind of thing now, it just makes it what it is. Let's take a break.
You guys have fun with that.
20-hour break, and we're back tomorrow to do it all over again on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. Yeah.
We gonna pay for that one.
Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative non-surgical drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury. Don't let this pain keep you from living your best life. QC Kinetics advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. This is a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief and no downtime. May 2024, the year you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence, walk and run, play and live without the danger and trauma of surgery and without harmful drugs. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. Greenville and Asheville.
If you're facing $10,000, $20,000, or even $30,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other
All right, dudes and dudettes, I'm going to take this down because I got to run. Thanks all so much for having a day with us. We appreciate it. Come back tomorrow. We'll have another day tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your Wednesday. Goodbye.